does that then mean that within the BJP, and you spend a lot of time there, they realize just how tricky Haryana is at the moment?
So far, there has been a complacency in the rank and file of the BJP.
Why?
In general, there has been complacency that they could use brand Modi to their advantage and sort of cover any kind of gaps that are there. But now now the task has again gotten back to the local leaders to apply their political mind to the whole subject. Right now, what is happening, the struggle with the BJP is that they do not have any hook to hold the entire campaign in Haryana around. Right now, every issue that you pick is largely BJP pitted against the public at large in all of those issues, right?
Be it... अरे आप तो हराने की बात करो, जिताने का तरीका बताओ।
जिताने के भी तरीके, they're age old. First of all, ensuring that Chandrasekhar and Mayawati and the Dalit base that's sort of is showing an early tendency to go towards the Congress. How do you stop that? There is a solid 20% Dalit vote share. You have to ensure that that so-called third front, the Lok Dal has gone with Bahujan Samaj Party in the alliance, and there is an active talk that JJP might go with Chandrasekhar in the alliance. And these are like active Dalit parties. So there could be some interesting numerical strategy. See, at times when narratives fail, arithmetic comes in and holds the ground. And I think BJP, like always, they would want to really hold the ground and be more innovative. They can't always say that I'm going to look at dividing the Jat vote, because the Jats have also gotten clever. They will not allow the vote to get split.
No, it's not about the Jat vote so much, but I'll tell you what can work for the BJP, and that's the dichotomy which the Congress has to deal with. The Congress across the country wants to fight an election, even in Maharashtra, on the basis of caste. The Congress will do what it can that the election in Haryana doesn't go on the lines of caste, because then it will be 36 banam ek, which is 36 communities versus one, which is Jats. And that has been the Achilles heel of the Congress party, election by election. So what the BJP can do, and which it is doing, look at the kind of cabinet ministers that the BJP has made. Rao Indrajit Singh, they've got in Krishan Pal Gujjar. So you've got in the Gujjars, you've got in the Ahirwals, who are the Yadavs, and these have been traditional BJP voters. You're trying to consolidate that. What the BJP needs right now, is to consolidate the Punjabi belt, which is the GT Karnal road belt.
Okay.
Consolidate that and chip away at the Dalit vote bank. If they do it, if they get it on the basis of caste, they have a fighting chance.
BJP would like a multi-pronged contest, not a bipolar contest.
But I agree with her assessment that I also feel that this time it is going to be much more acute bipolar. I don't see a sense that it is going to, for a simple reason,
but bipolarity is to the disadvantage of the
BJP. I tell you why.
BJP would want a fractured
elections basically are a negative perception phenomena. You can read the data in many ways, but the way in the 30 years I have learned to read it, I can never be sure about the good side of the data, but I am absolutely sure about the bad side, in a way, anger data. I am absolutely angry with this party or angry with this leader. So we know for sure that 44% which tells you they are upset. They are very clear. You can raise a doubt whether those who are happy are going to vote for the government or not, but I'm dead sure that 44% is
44% are against.
Can I go look at 4% unlikely to split much?
Sheila will come to you in a moment. I just want to get political reactions to those first numbers, because there are two X factors that also are there. One is the Congress itself. How united will the Congress remain, particularly when it comes to seat distribution? Will it ensure that all its leaders are accommodated, especially the likes of Kumari Shelja, or will the Huddas dominate any ticket distribution? So that, Adil Singh Boparai, is your challenge, because the Congress is known to often be its own worst enemy. Is that resolved, that the Congress will be united in this election, or have you outsourced the party to the Huddas in Haryana?
Well, good evening, Mr. Sardesai. We in the Congress take the exit polls with a pinch of salt. But having said this, even directionally, your poll also indicates that it is going the Congress way. However, I would like to say that there is going to be a landslide for the Congress, and for a variety of reasons. You have an ineffective chief minister. You have rampant corruption. You have unemployment. You have inflation. You have attempts at social division. And most importantly, people are fed up with the BJP's promises. The BJP can try its tricks, the BJP can try dividing society, but there comes a time when there is public anger, and that anger is palpable. It's not just palpable amongst the farmers, it is also palpable amongst the youth. It is palpable amongst sports persons. It is palpable amongst women. So you will see that there will be a greater enthusiasm to vote out the BJP. I'm sure the BJP will try some tricks, but we are very, very confident that this time around the Congress is coming back with a 2/3 majority. Now, responding to your
saying you're saying 2/3 majority. You believe that the Congress is united, Rohan Gupta? You changed your chief minister just a month or even weeks before the Lok Sabha polls. It didn't quite work. It was a 5-5 battle, but clearly a decline compared to 2019. Has the BJP woken up too late to the crisis in Haryana? You held on to Manohar Lal Khattar for way too long.
Rajdeep, I feel the way Lok Sabha results have come for BJP, right? Everybody before the results were saying that there will be clean sweep in favor of Congress, and because of Agniveer or farmers issue and all, there's a strong anger against BJP on ground. But when you see the data, 44 seats, even after Lok Sabha elections, which was the worst case scenario for BJP, there are 44 seats where BJP is still leading. There are many
Why do you
seats
think
which were
that's the worst
stronghold
case
of Congress
scenario?
party.
That's when Rohan Bhai, that's when Prime Minister Modi is on the ticket and you still get only 44 in a North Indian state. Take Prime Minister Modi out of the ticket, make it about local state issues. You could be much worse off.
I will definitely, Rahul, I'll answer your question. Definitely, there'll be impact in state elections. But then when you come to state leadership, look at the situation of Congress party. It is not a united Congress party. There are three parts in Congress party. People of Haryana, they know that they want to go for the party which is united. There is, after Mr. Saini's appointment as CM, there are a lot of things about MSP for farmers, for Agniveer, reservation for Agniveer. There are a lot of issues. I think that is a strong, favoring.
How are you united, Rohan Gupta? I just want to come in. How are you united? You have an Anil Vij who's very disgruntled, who's actually, if he fights independent, will still win. You have a Rao Indrajit Singh, very unhappy that his daughter wasn't given a ticket, and that's your Yadav vote bank. So the BJP has enough factionalism of its own, as much as the Congress.
One taking leaf out of what you said, Congress fought the whole election on the base of caste and all this thing, which is not going to be possible for them in Haryana because they are riding on a tightrope there. What I'm trying to tell you, if you compare factionalism in BJP and Congress, the difference is quite visible. There are 3 rallies happening at a different place. All leaders are not on the same platform. So people, they don't want to go for something which is not certain.
No, make no mistake, internal dissent is a genuine problem for the Congress party. And the Congress also has the tendency oftentimes when it's in pole position to get carried away because they think they're already very close to power, and that could be a real problem that the Congress needs to look out for. What I'll do now is project this MOTN data into Lok Sabha seats. And I just want to build some caveats so that there is adequate calibration. We don't have assembly-wise projection because that's not the level of granularity in this data. What you will see are, if Lok Sabha elections are held today, how would these 10 Haryana Lok Sabha seats vote? Last time it was 5-5. So in a moment from now, I'll show you what the current projection is. And remember, in whatever seats the BJP gets, in a Lok Sabha context, there is the Modi factor. In the assembly context, and we've seen this twice, in 14 and in 19, the BJP tends to struggle in Haryana, even if it happens soon after a big Modi wave. So here it is on your screen now. The Congress had 5 seats in Haryana in the Lok Sabha elections. The BJP had 5. Yashwant and his team at CBOT are projecting that the Congress goes up to 6, even in a Lok Sabha context, which means if you translate this into an assembly context, at this moment, his data broadly suggests that they're sitting roughly at about 60% of the 90 seats in Haryana. That's a very broad calculation, but directionally, if you want to know who's ahead, it's 4 seats for the BJP versus 6 for the Congress. Now, let me convert this into votes. If you look at the vote share projection, the BJP had about 44% vote share. Now, the problem with this data is that in the 2024 Lok Sabha elections, the Congress and the AAP fought together. The Congress itself was 44, 4% is AAP because they fought in Kurukshetra, so it's 46 versus 48, but actually it's 46 versus 44 because about 3.5% was AAP. When you convert that, and the problem with this data, and Yashwant, is that you're basically taking Congress and AAP together, which is why it's India Alliance. Yeah. But you have to now minus the AAP vote. So your data is showing 44 versus 46. How much of this in your calculation is the AAP vote? Once that goes away, because it's unlikely that they're fighting together, then where will this 46 be?
Well, that's an interesting question because Aam Aadmi Party on its own in Haryana is not more than 1 or 2% of a structure as such. And once the anti-incumbency mood sets in and they know which party is going to replace, I totally agree with your assessment that I don't see much of that splintering going on. However, if you see that the others going from 6 to 10, that 4% increase is somehow, I feel there is what shall I say, some little bit of movement towards the JJP, INLD factions, because that's Then there are big terms of rebels and all those
See,
others
that
that
I
will
think
be
is the
happening.
big difference between Lok Sabha and Vidhan Sabha. The number of independents who will have their own clout and could pick up 3,000-4,000 votes, which could make the difference in a closely run seat. So, I just
No, but there is also, Rajdeep, the winning bandwagon effect. Once in the villages, word gets around that A party is losing and B party is winning, a certain amount of tailwinds get attached to whichever wagon
but,
seems to be winning.
Haryana has been a state which has been difficult often to read. Preeti is right that even in 2014 and 19, it wasn't as if these were wave elections. The BJP never got a majority till 2014 was the first time.
And
they
straight
actually,
through because two joined later.
So it is a difficult state when you're a small state, as we've seen. Small switches can make a huge difference in a small state. I just wanted to understand the importance of it. Sheila, we are starting off with Haryana.
Okay,
Why do you think this round, in the backdrop of what has happened in Lok Sabha, is so important? Is this now going to be a test? Every election now a test. Is Congress back in the race, or was 2024 only an aberration?
Definitely. And I think we are in a very interesting, riveting times, because we have never seen this before. When soon after election result is a climax, but we see another climax of judging that how this government goes forward now. Post-election, such a excitement of politics we have rarely seen.
So you're saying it's a continuation almost from 2024?
So I'm saying excitement is there in the air all over India. People are watching Modi, when he will come out of the setback of election, how he will come out. All this is happening, and I think these are almost a frozen times for the supporters and bucks of Modi. And wait a minute, but I want to say something interesting about Haryana. Few things. One, there is a perception gone down, though we consider election commission independent, but why Haryana and Kashmir was clubbed and Maharashtra was kept waiting, because where stakes are very high for Modi, BJP, Congress, everybody. One. Second, I think very successful time-tested formula of BJP has been in Haryana is non-Jat votes.
Consolidation
Yes, exactly.
of non-Jat votes.
Third, now Rahul Gandhi's political motto is caste, all about caste, caste, caste. So, within such a short time, BJP, Modi, RSS, everybody will be able to brand Haryana Congress as a Jat Congress. Then things will change. And last thing, that Rajya Sabha seat was given
Kiran Chaudhary.
Yeah. So I think such a weak candidate of Jat. I think she is not.
Okay, but
So
let me ask in
Amit-
that.
So
Amitabh Tiwari has been waiting patiently.
Non-Jat votes will stick to BJP or not, and how will BJP will be able to keep
Sheila,
it
she comes-
united? And last thing, another thing, very important, Shaileja, she says she has shown interest.
Yeah,
And
she's gone on a yatra now
So
through
it's
urban
not
areas.
a small thing.
No,
It's a very big political move by
Yeah, sure.
Congress, because Huda is considered, Huda is a one-man show.
Yeah, but the fact is that, from what one gathers at Congress meetings, the Congress has taken the stand, unlike in 2019, that the Hudas will run the show. They're driving the campaign. Shailja is very much part of it through an urban, she's having her own yatra. The differences are well known. But for once, the Congress seems to have decided that and they've done it a year ago, we are putting all our the state president is a Huda man.
Rajdeep, they've tried. So you've had a Kumari Shailja as president of the
It didn't
party.
work.
It did not work for the Congress at that point of time. But yes, there is no doubt. There is a camp. It's actually called the SRK camp, which is the Surjewala, Kiran Chaudhary and a Shailja camp. Now, Kiran Chaudhary has been taken away, and Sheila, one of the main reasons that she's gone to the BJP, other than her minimal influence in the Bhiwani area,
Exactly.
Tosham seat. No, but she's the daughter-in-law of Bansi Lal. Bansi Lal is one of the biggest leaders where Haryana is concerned.
Okay, I want to ask Amitabh Tiwari. Amitabh Tiwari, is there, when you look at this data, the reading on the surface is very clear. Massive anti-incumbency, BJP in a tough spot, Congress on the ascendant. That's the very simplistic reading. Is there anything that you see which could give the BJP managers hope that it's not a lost cause? We still have a particular formula to be able to make this more about caste, to try and split the anti-government votes so that the BJP still has a chance of being able to come back to power. What could that formula be?
See, the 2024 election results clearly show that no election is a done deal until the last vote is counted. That's very clear. So it's still 1 month, more than 1 month away. If you see, even in 2024 Lok Sabha, the elections was a very close contest, 5 seats each, even in terms of vote share, almost equal. If you see the net satisfaction rating, which is primarily very satisfied plus satisfied to some extent minus not satisfied at all, that is the lowest for the chief minister. It's just 1% for Naib Singh Saini. And it's very high at 19% for Bhupendra Singh Hooda. The BJP's hope is split of Jat votes. The JJP and INLD helped it do that in 2019 elections. 15% vote share was backed by the JJP. Now, whether it has the stamina and it has the caliber to again win that sort of a vote percentage, it is very, very doubtful, very doubtful. But can it increase its vote share from 1% in the Lok Sabha to 4-5%? That remains to be seen. The other fact is that the Congress party was able to consolidate largely the Jat, Dalit and Muslim votes, which is more than 50% of population in the Lok Sabha election. The constitution statement by many BJP leaders helped a movement of Dalit votes towards the Congress party. But however, as Preeti said, this alliance is a very fragile, tricky alliance. It's not a very permanent sort of alliance. So the BJP would hope or need to break this alliance of Jat, Dalit and Muslims, and the Dalits there could be the target of the BJP. How they do it?
There's one googly though. There's one googly though in all of this that we've not discussed. The real possibility, which the Congress has been pushing, and you saw Dipinder Hooda there to welcome Vinesh Phogat. Vinesh Phogat is a superstar at the moment in Haryana. I mean, she is at the moment Haryana ki beti, not just Jat ki beti, Haryana ki beti, India ki beti. And the Congress is making every effort to suggest that they are with Vinesh Phogat. I just wonder, will Vinesh Phogat actually bite the bullet and contest
she is
the
right
election?
now, to be very honest. Yes, she's widely popular in Haryana, but she's an accessory to a larger brewing discontent.
Sure.
Now, number one.
Will
number
she contest?
Number two, in the rural belt now, because before every elections, especially in Haryana, people talk. So dreams are being brewed that it will be a Vinesh Phogat versus Babita Phogat contest of Charkhi Dadri. They're building it to be that. I doubt if Vinesh Phogat will fight. Now, I don't know. But I think a Bajrang Punia might just fight. But then this is all, conjecture.
So what's very clear is for the BJP to win, they have to be able to split the anti-government vote. The better the JJP does, the better the BSP does, the better the INLD does, the better for the BJP. If it's straight, you like the government, you dislike the government, Congress versus BJP, then the BJP is in a tough spot. So Dharmendra Pradhan and others who are working on the campaign like Biplab Deb from the BJP side have a lot of thinking to do on how they can tactically pin the Congress down in Haryana. We've spoken enough about Haryana.
And now, before you move on from Haryana, I mean, just to put it on record, in our MOTN, we did predict 5-5 for both the camps in Lok Sabha, and we did say that the India alliance will poll 2% more than the NDA alliance. So, I mean, those, just for the sake of it, because, I understand we are coming out of a campaign where a lot of flack was aimed at exit polling and everything. But as I said, this is a continuous process. We get it right.
No, but if Sachin Tendulkar doesn't score a century,
so before
sometimes in life it's best to take one step forward to
exactly
go
one step
back to
one
go
step
2 steps forward.
No, but if Kohli or Tendulkar don't score a century in a particular, it doesn't mean they're useless guys.
Exactly.
You stick with the process. I think what's key is you believe in the data, you stick with the process. You'll get many right, you'll get a few wrong. You have to take it all.
I am not going to give. I'm not going to be as
understand
charitable, I'm
Haryana
afraid.
better because Indian politics started Ayaram, Gayaram and every such thing
Haryana.
from Haryana.
Oh, sure.
So Haryana is very important politically.
And because the first election after the Lok Sabha election, it's far more important than the state would ordinarily be. but there's also Jharkhand, there is Jammu and Kashmir, and then there is Rajdeep's favorite state of Maharashtra. So we'll slip into a break. When we come back, we'll bring you the rest of the poll-bound states, fascinating data insights. The moment you're looking at trends, everybody has an opinion. I say back that opinion with data. Then you have a sharper reason to form that opinion. So we'll continue that when we come back on the other side of a quick break. Stay with us.
Motorola Razr 50 Ultra comes with Google Gemini.
Hello and welcome once again to the India Today Mood of the Nation poll, our biannual survey that looks at the mood of the nation. And this poll is an important one because this is the first major polling exercise done after that surprising general election verdict of June 2024. Rahul, lots to look forward to, particularly because we are back in election season with the poll bugle having been sounded for Jammu and Kashmir and Haryana.
So what we'll do to make things more exciting and relevant for our audiences is spend more time on Haryana, on Maharashtra, Jharkhand, Jammu and Kashmir. Remember, this is a national poll, so we will give you an aggregate national big picture, but we'll also dive deep into the state-wise data for the assembly election-bound states, which will give you a sense of which way the political winds are blowing in these states which are soon going to the polls.
That's right. And remember, since it's the first poll since June, maybe it's time for a bit of a mea culpa. As I introduce our guest, Preeti Chaudhary, our colleague who's been with us during those big general elections. Rajat Sethi, a political analyst, was also with us. Sheila Bhatt joins us. Welcome, Sheila, senior journalist, has tracked politics for decades. Yashwant Deshmukh is C voter. They've done the poll. And I'm coming to you in a moment, Yashwant. Rahul and I have a couple of questions for you. Amitabh Tiwari, senior political analyst and psephologist, also joins us. Rohan Gupta of the Bharatiya Janata Party and Adil Boparai of the Congress are also with us at the moment. But Yashwant Deshmukh, do you want to do a mea culpa at this moment and say, look, we got the general elections wrong? How is life changing for pollsters after June 2024?
Rajdeep, you asked the same thing the day or the results came out, and I told you there is neither mia nor culpa for me. For a simple reason, जब 10वीं और 12वीं के रिजल्ट आते हैं, the students who are getting good marks, you ask them, did you study 20 hours every day before the examination? They say no. But we did study 2 hours every day for the last 2 years. Precisely what is the tracker is about. Precisely this is what MOTN is all about. Regardless of the elections, they are happening or not, regardless of the political circumstances, we do the tracker every day, day after day, day after day, and asking in 11 languages, 76 questions to be precise in our tracker, Rajdeep. And there are only
so
two
no
questions.
Changes? Are you telling me that,
No.
that I'm not, not just the tracker, but the way you approach polling? Has there been any sort of look back, an opportunity to review introspect?
Personally, for me, in fact, I will be even more adamant that whenever you are talking about seats, first talk about the vote share, where exactly the trend is emerging, and take the seats with a truckload of pinch of salt, not just pinch of
I think
salt,
that's
simply
correct.
because
It's
vote
also
seats
about
conversion
how
is
it's
not the thing.
projected and presented, where this should only be looked at as a directional indicator of which way the winds are blowing. Sometimes because you keep getting it right again and again and again and again, people start believing and anchors start presenting it as if they are 100% certain that every seat will be right. It can never be the case. When you look at broad trends, you look at the big picture, that does emerge and you can capture that, which is frankly the best any poll can hope to do. So with a pitcher of salt or nimbu pani or whatever it is that gets you going, let's dive into the numbers. I'll take you through the methodology used by C Voter for this poll for the India Today group. Remember, there are a total of 136,463 respondents. Now, this is broken into two parts. One is the 40,591 respondents who were interviewed between the 15th of July and the 10th of August as part of this MOTN. Yashwant just referred to his tracking data, which is a CATI telephonic daily tracker. The same questions were put to 95,872 interviewees, and that was then aggregated to cover all Lok Sabha constituencies and states. So that's the big picture in terms of the methodology. What we'll do first is get straight into Haryana, because that's the first state which will really set the political temperature one way or the other. If the BJP is able to hold Haryana, they will say what happened in the Lok Sabha elections was an aberration. If the Congress wins in Haryana, they will get stronger, and therefore a lot rests on the tiny North Indian state of Haryana. Let me take you through what people think of how the state government in Haryana is doing, and then we will try and extrapolate the data to say how the seats look like in Haryana. We won't give you assembly seats, we'll give you Lok Sabha seats, but it will directionally give you a sense of which way the political winds are blowing. So with that said, let's get started. Question number one, how satisfied are you with the state government's performance in Haryana? Remember, we asked the same question for the national government, and then we asked the same question for the state government. I'll show you the national data in a moment, but first, just the state government. So 44% of respondents in the See Voter India Today poll said they are not at all satisfied with the performance of the Haryana state government. That's a very high level of anti-incumbency. And as you stay with us in this journey, look at the number of those who are satisfied, partially satisfied, or not satisfied. In other states, it will tell you where anti-incumbency is higher and where it is lower. 27% say they are satisfied, 25% say satisfied to some extent. Now, typically, those who are satisfied to some extent can either ultimately go into this corner, or they could go into this corner, which means they can vote either ways. This is your middle voter who isn't decided at this moment. What's very clear is that 44% of the respondents are saying there is no way they are voting BJP. These people want to vote this government out. That's a big number there at the beginning of this poll. Those who say they are definitely going to vote for this. Sabha editorial director at India Today magazine, Raj, welcome. Also with us is our colleague Kaushik Deka, who's been working on bringing this data together. So I want to look now at the state of Jharkhand. And remember, the question is whether there is adequate anti-incumbency against the JMM, Congress, RJD state government in Jharkhand for the BJP to have a real shot at power, or did the arrest of Hemant Soren create adequate tribal sympathy for there to be a very strong pushback? So let's take a look at what the data suggests. And as you look at this data, in your mind, keep doing comparison with the level of anti-incumbency and the perception around the government's performance in Haryana. So when you compare, then you get a relative picture, which is what makes things interesting. So are you satisfied with the Chief Minister's performance? 27% say yes, 37% say not at all satisfied. 37% are not going to vote for Hemant Soren and for the India Alliance. In Haryana, this figure was 44. So the level of anti-incumbency in Jharkhand is less than the level of anti-incumbency faced by the BJP government in Haryana, but it is still fairly high. Those who are very satisfied are 27%, 33%. So a big chunk of voters are, we don't know, we could be here, we could be there. So they're somewhere in the middle and somewhere in between. Let's now come to the second question about the performance of Chief Minister Hemant Soren. He now has a Guruji kind of vibe around him. He's grown his hair, he's white now. He reminds the tribal people of Jharkhand of his father, Shibu Soren, the legendary tribal leader. 40% said they didn't like what Naib Singh Saini was doing. 35% are not at all satisfied. So again, quite a high number of people saying not at all satisfied, but lesser than the Haryana Chief Minister. Those who are very satisfied are 25%, which basically means just 1 in 4 voters are definitely coming towards Hemant Soren's alliance. But again, 30%, the bulk of votes somewhere in the middle. Wherever this 30% goes really determines whether if more of this 30% comes this way, then there is a chance that the Hemant Soren government has. If a bulk of this 30% goes this way, then it's game over for the India Alliance in Jharkhand. So this is where, if you look at the initial sets of data, the BJP can think, yes, we have a chance. We can make this happen. And the India Alliance strategic to think through how they can prevent that from happening. Are you satisfied with the performance of the opposition leader? Let's take that question on our screen right now. So very few satisfied. Now that's the advantage. We don't really know who the opposition leader in Jharkhand is because there are camps within the BJP. So that's one. Secondly, very satisfied is only 15%. So they are quite unhappy, dissatisfied with Hemant Soren, but they're not jumping with joy with the BJP leadership either. So that's a very important observation there. Satisfied to some extent is just 17%. The biggest number there is 30%. So clearly anti-incumbency against the Hemant Soren government, but people not delighted with the opposition BJP and not very clear about whether they really want the BJP back. So that's really where things stand at the moment. What about the level of anti-incumbency against the MLA? Now, this is not just BJP MLAs or JM MLAs, this is all MLAs. So when the question was asked, are you satisfied with your MLA? 35% are saying, nah, not at all satisfied. 31% are saying satisfied to some extent. 28% are very satisfied. So 3 out of 10 broadly would have a chance at re-election. 35% not at all satisfied. There's a lot of anti-incumbency there as well. So with that, let's just try and dissect this data. Rajdeep, Haryana showed very strong anti-incumbency. This is anti-incumbency, not as strong, but Hemant Soren is not looking comfortable either.
The sense you get in both Haryana and Jharkhand, remember, these are states where a state assembly election will be very tightly fought with a lot of independents. I don't get a ticket from one of the two major parties. I will contest as an independent. So all those numbers, that entire block, which is not very satisfied, is the one which will decide these elections, which is somewhat satisfied. The somewhat satisfied, those middle of the roaders decide small states. And therefore, I think, Yashwant, you're sticking your neck out in states like Haryana and Jharkhand.
I will stick my neck out.
So how are you sticking? In Haryana, you're very clear it's anti-incumbency. In Jharkhand, is it more a mixed picture with a possibility of a hung assembly?
I have 2 points to make on Jharkhand. Number one, when you look into the politics of Hemant Soren, you have to give him due credit that among all the dynasty and other those who inherited the political assets from their fathers, he is the only one so far who has taken their father's legacy ahead. The footprint of their support base, Hemant JMM against Hemant under Hemant Soren,
a bit like Naveen Patnaik.
Yeah, but like Naveen Patnaik under Hemant Soren is bigger than the JMM was.
But people aren't very pleased with this performance.
That's fine. Let me tell you one more thing. The 5 seats that they managed to pull off in the assembly election were the core of the core tribal seats. That's very important for you to understand. Lok Sabha elections. Okay, that means he is carrying the tribal vote mandate with him. Problem with the BJP is, and that's why when you were reading out the data of the opposition satisfaction, that there is a confusion, because God knows why BJP has not fully projected Babulal Marandi as their clear-cut chief ministerial face.
Why do you think they don't
I don't know, because for the last 20 years in our tracker, by the way, you just said 22 years of our MOT and tracker.
No, but it's not like they haven't projected.
No, but that's been the problem for the last 20 years.
Can I ask you something?
Let's just say one data. In the last 20 years, regardless of which party he was in, independent, all alone, Babulal Marandi was consistently as the #1 most popular leader in Jharkhand, even when he was not.
Why don't they fully project him?
2 decades.
See, I have covered the state quite closely in Jharkhand. The problem in Jharkhand is, first of all, they did incredible amount of work under Raghuvar Das. Lot of infrastructure spending was there, best of the highways. For the last 5 years under Hemant Soren, the development of the state has actually gone into a stall. That is why you're seeing that there is anti-incumbency and all of that. But the problem is that BJP is still under the hold of Raghuvar Das, who is moved in as the governor of Odisha. It was under his chief ministership that the BJP lost the last election. So still a lot of his loyalists are there who refuse to acknowledge Babulal Marandi as an undisputed leader.
No, but the BJP leadership should step up and say he's our chief ministerial face.
Raghuvar Das still has a lot of sway in the central BJP. That's also an important
point.
But
the truth is, Babulal Marandi has always been sidelined. Now,
Always.
you see,
You
if
are
you look at it,
right.
if you
But
go
Arjun
back to
Munda,
the formation,
so how many
Arjun
tribal
Munda
cases-
before Raghubar
Yeah, and
Das.
Arjun Munda was a JMM import. Babulal Marandi was a
Old-style RSS man.
old
Yeah, yeah.
RSS guy,
Correct,
popular guy.
Pre-
But I don't know
pre-
why
this is why-
What becomes
Pre-
important
Modi
is
era neta.
the level of tribal consolidation in favor of the JMM. If the tribals stay fully consolidated, if they think Hemant Soren has been wrongly done in by the investigative agencies and the central government, then Jharkhand looks interesting. But judged purely by performance metrics, this government is on a sticky wicket.
Yeah, I think you're right. And if you look at the way the Lok Sabha results that Yashwant has projected in the sea water thing, clearly the BJP has the edge in that, in the sense it gets a little
No,
more.
so let me put that. We haven't given the data
Okay,
yet.
just to complete the point that if you want to put it, then
No,
we
no.
can talk.
Okay, so let me show the data that Raj Chingappa is mentioning. Remember, we're not doing assembly projections. The question in the Mood of the Nation opinion poll, and I want that to be very clear so you don't misinterpret what's being said, is how would you vote in the Lok Sabha context right now? So if I take you through the projections for the state of Jharkhand, out of the 14 seats, the BJP had 8. Our data now projects that to go up to 10. The AJSU, the Students' Union of Jharkhand, had 1 that stays at 1. The Congress had 2 that comes down to 1. And the JMM had 3 that comes down to 2. So it's actually showing, unlike Haryana where they lost 1 seat, the BJP actually gaining ground in Jharkhand and the Congress actually losing some ground in Jharkhand.
So if you read it with what you had projected earlier, Rahul, in terms of the satisfaction levels of the government and everything else, and clearly anti-incumbency showing, it's also showing up in the, when you look at the Lok Sabha polls and what the projections of seawater is on this. But I think there are some X factors. Firstly, why is this election so important? Because this will be, if Haryana goes, for some reason, J&K begins to move away from the BJP in the first 2 rounds of elections, then you have Maharashtra and Jharkhand coming up very soon. That becomes very critical because if we have a series of losses, it will begin to impinge on the central government in terms of their credibility and their longevity in that. So that's one very important reason why we should look at Jharkhand so closely. The second thing I think, while the BJP seem to have a very clear edge, starting off with anti-incumbency, I think they scored a self-goal by getting Soren into a case that involved, I think, some 5 acres. If you ask any tribal there, and I was talking to my colleague, India Today colleague over there, he says the tribals believe that's their land. And you are putting someone in jail for 5 acres? I mean, he owns the entire tribal area. That's the sort of concept that they come in. So they've deeply offended the tribals. And you can see that in the results that in the Lok Sabha earlier, as well now under the projections, that the tribal vote, which is about 30%, will shift to him. So he starts with an advantage of that. Now the point is, what he was talking about, Marandi and others, he's not considered truly. That's one of the problems. He has not been accepted in that sort of mold as the Sorens have been in that sense.
But he's never been projected in the same fashion
That's
either.
correct. So I think we'll have to look at how he's able to broad base the sympathy wave that comes as a result of it, because the BJP shouldn't have done what it did, because subsequently the court then indicates that he has not, the verdict is not over, but does give him the sympathy vote. And let's see how much of that will start translating towards the other seat, the OBCs, the SCs and others.
The very fact in the last week we've had Champai Soren virtually rebel is a sign that the BJP recognizes that they need to do something.
No, but rebel unsuccessfully. It's not like he could take 6 MLAs with him.
So they couldn't do that. But the very fact that that attempt has been made is a clear sign the BJP knows they need to dent the tribal vote. You see, just as in Haryana, the BJP was hoping the Jat vote will be split and we will consolidate non-Jat. Here your hope is that you will consolidate the non-tribal vote firmly with you and the tribal vote will be fractured. Now this is all politics, I think, which works when there is no major anti-incumbency. I think Jharkhand, the BJP has a very good chance even now, because nationally, even in the Lok Sabha polls, Rahul, the big picture was the BJP did best in states where they were not in power. You see, this is an anti-incumbency period across the country.
One small mistake that the BJP did in 2019 was not having a pre-poll alliance with AJSU. That also results in 5% swing here and there. And Sudesh Mehta still looks
are very significant.
What you were saying, Rajdeep, because even though Champai Soren unsuccessfully rebelled during the Lok Sabha, even before he was given the chief ministership chair, I was in the tribal belt, and after Hemant Soren, it is Champai Soren. He's a widely popular leader in the tribal belt. Will he be
So they will,
even a
yes,
minor
Kaushik,
factor?
but
if you see what I can probably what will happen in Jharkhand, what happened in Chhattisgarh, there is a strong Congress government. We all thought that the Congress government would come back to power. They had a good leader. But then again, from my state, one person went there and they raised the tribal issue, that outsider and insider issue. Now in Jharkhand, that's happening. The Assam CM, he has been raising this Bangladeshi issue. Over there in Chhattisgarh, it was Christian versus tribal. Here now they are making it Bangladeshi. You can read it as Muslim versus tribal. So I think BJP understands that they don't have a leader, but they need to create a fear among the tribals that your own tribal leaders haven't been able to protect you. So I think that will play
we'll
out.
slip into a break right now. The big difference is in Haryana, the BJP is in power. Here they're in opposition, and it's the India alliance that needs to answer for what they've done and not done. And then there is the sympathy factor. So both those will play itself out. We're heading into a break. The big political wicket, the Kohli or the Tendulkar, call it what you will, is the state of Maharashtra. That is what will determine how the political mood gets set if they be bringing this data together. So I want to look now at the state of Jharkhand. And remember, the question is whether there is adequate anti-incumbency against the JMM, Congress, RJD state government in Jharkhand for the BJP to have a real shot at power, or did the arrest of Hemant Soren create adequate tribal sympathy for there to be a very strong pushback? So let's take a look at what the data suggests. And as you look at this data, in your mind, keep doing comparison with the level of anti-incumbency and the perception around the government's performance in Haryana. So when you compare, then you get a relative picture, which is what makes things interesting. So are you satisfied with the Chief Minister's performance? 27% say yes, 37% say not at all satisfied. 37% are not going to vote for Hemant Soren and for the India Alliance. In Haryana, this figure was 44. So the level of anti-incumbency in Jharkhand is less than the level of anti-incumbency faced by the BJP government in Haryana, but it is still fairly high. Those who are very satisfied are 27%, 33%. So a big chunk of voters are, we don't know, we could be here, we could be there. So they're somewhere in the middle and somewhere in between. Let's now come to the second question about the performance of Chief Minister Hemant Soren. He now has a Guruji kind of vibe around him. He's grown his hair, he's white now. He reminds the tribal people of Jharkhand of his father, Shibu Soren, the legendary tribal leader. 40% said they didn't like what Naib Singh Saini was doing. 35% are not at all satisfied. So again, quite a high number of people saying not at all satisfied, but lesser than the Haryana Chief Minister. Those who are very satisfied are 25%, which basically means just 1 in 4 voters are definitely coming towards Hemant Soren's alliance. But again, 30%, the bulk of votes, somewhere in the middle. Wherever this 30% goes really determines whether, if more of this 30% comes this way, then there is a chance that the Hemant Soren government has. If a bulk of this 30% goes this way, then it's game over for the India alliance in Jharkhand. So this is where, if you look at the initial sets of data, the BJP can think, yes, we have a chance. We can make this happen. And the India alliance strategy to think through how they can prevent that from happening. Are you satisfied with the performance of the opposition leader? Let's take that question on our screen right now. So very few satisfied. Now that's the advantage. A, we don't really know who the opposition leader in Jharkhand is because there are camps within the BJP. So that's one. Secondly, very satisfied is only 15%. So they are quite unhappy, dissatisfied with Hemant Soren, but they're not jumping with joy with the BJP leadership either. So that's a very important observation there. Satisfied to some extent is just 17%. The biggest number there is 30%. So clearly anti-incumbency against the Hemant Soren government, but people not delighted with the opposition BJP and not very clear about whether they really want the BJP back. So that's really where things stand at the moment. What about the level of anti-incumbency against the MLA? Now, this is not just BJP MLAs or JMM MLAs, this is all MLAs. So when the question was asked, are you satisfied with your MLA? 35% are saying, nah, not at all satisfied. 31% are saying satisfied to some extent. 28% are very satisfied. So 3 out of 10 broadly would have a chance at re-election. 35% not at all satisfied. There's a lot of anti-incumbency there as well. So with that, let's just try and dissect this data. Rajdeep,
You know, it's
Haryana
interesting.
showed very strong anti-incumbency. This is anti-incumbency, not as strong, but Hemant.
Because it's the first major polling exercise in the country since the June general elections. And remember, it comes as several states are going to the polls in the next few months. And there is no bigger state than the state of Maharashtra. 48 Lok Sabha seats, second largest state in the country's commercial capital of Mumbai. And therefore, what happens in Maharashtra, Rahul, could actually set the narrative for the next 12 months, whether the Modi government is now completely on the back foot or whether the Modi government recovers from the slight setback it suffered in the June general elections.
Forget the data. आप बताओ जीत कौन है?
I have completely given up. I am still reeling under my mea culpa of not getting the 2024 general elections right. But I got Maharashtra right when I said that the opposition would be ahead of the BJP-led alliance, not by the amount, though, that I didn't think that it would be such a big difference. I thought it would be closer. But my own sense is Maharashtra is one of the most difficult states to predict, Rahul, quite simply because it's not one state. There are 5 states, Vidarbha, Marathwada, Western Maharashtra, Konkan, Mumbai, and to some extent Northern Maharashtra are 5 different states that often vote differently. And as a statistical data point, it is the only state, I think, in the country in the last 40 years that has not had a single party majority government. So for 40 years, you've had Mili-Juli sarkars in Maharashtra. Okay. I'm trying to think whether there's any other state in the country which for 40 years has not thrown up a majority government, which is why very difficult to predict Maharashtra.
After Haryana, you said you are not going to be charitable. Now, please be charitable enough. For the last 2 years, 4 issues of Raj's MOTN, we were the only one to keep on hammering it out. It's not going to go well for the NDA. It's going bad. And you were pretty much doing 1 hour telecast in Marathi with me. Dicing those numbers. Be charitable, say it.
No,
we
sure.
have been saying
I think on Maharashtra, we picked up a trend for the last 2 years, despite the break in the Shiv Sena, despite the break in the NCP. The truth of the matter is the chemistry of Maharashtra, Rahul Yashwant, was certainly against the ruling government for the manner in which these regional parties were broken.
Okay.
But I think when a Vidhan Sabha election comes, we've got to be a little bit more cautious because you're looking, as I said, at a state which effectively is 5 states rolled into one with different trends possibly emerging, even though in the Lok Sabha that didn't happen. Lok Sabha saw the resurgence of the Congress. And if that continues, then advantage certainly to the opposition.
Just for the clarity of the audience, I will just explain what Rajdeep is trying to say. That, you know, in Maharashtra, everybody is too over-focused on BJP's alliance with the Ajit Pawar group or Shinde Sena group. But the fact was, BJP in the Lok Sabha election actually lost in Marathwada and Vidarbha, which was the core BJP core area, you know, losing to Congress in those areas where there was no Ajit Pawar, there was no Shinde, no Shiv Sena, no Sharad Pawar. So basically, BJP's problem in Maharashtra is no more the factions where they are contesting with. BJP's problem in Maharashtra is right now their home ground of Vidarbha and Marathwada.
Okay, let's pause the punditry just for a moment to look at the data. Leave all your biases aside. Just focus on the data for what it tells you about Maharashtra. And I hope that you've been watching our show from the beginning, because if you compare the same answers in Haryana and Jharkhand with Maharashtra, then a real picture emerges. Then you know where things stand, because data by itself means nothing. It's only relative when seen in a larger picture. So, are you satisfied with the performance of the state government? 33% are saying not satisfied at all. In Haryana, this was 44%. So if 33% are saying it's not satisfied at all, which means that the level of anger against Eknath Shinde in Maharashtra is significantly lesser than the level of anger against Nayab Singh Saini and the Haryana government. That's point number 1. Now, how satisfied are you? 25% are saying very satisfied. That means 1 in 4 are saying they're very satisfied. How will Maharashtra be decided? It is these 34% who are kind of satisfied but not fully satisfied who will determine. Typically, this 34% gets distributed into these 2 boxes. Some will come here, some will come there. Now, depending on the percentage that slips into the not satisfied at all category, that's how low the NDA will go. Then depending on the people who say that they are very satisfied and they from here on polling they move here, then this percentage goes up in terms of where the vote percentage of the government will then be. Let's now come to the next question. How satisfied are you with Eknath Shinde? I think Mr. Shinde will be quite delighted to see that 35% of the respondents are actually very satisfied. Remember, in Haryana, 40% said they were not satisfied at all. That's only 28% in Maharashtra. So if you're expecting Haryana-like anti-incumbency in Maharashtra, you aren't finding it in the India Today Mood of the Nation poll. There is anti-incumbency. 3 in 10 are not satisfied at all. But it is not as acute as it is in Haryana. Satisfied to some extent are 31. But the bigger number there, the biggest number there is 35% saying they're very satisfied with Eknath Shinde, which many political observers may be a bit surprised with, but take the data for what it is. This is what the data is showing. That's what we're telling you. And that's where things stand in Maharashtra. How satisfied are you with the opposition leader of Maharashtra? That is a bit confusing because it's not clear who the opposition leader is. Is it Uddhav Thackeray? Is it Sharad Pawar? But when this question is asked without giving a name, only 11% are very satisfied. Now, remember, this is even worse than the BJP in Jharkhand, where this was in the, the low double digits, like just 18, 19%. Level of people saying they're very satisfied with the opposition leader in Maharashtra is only 11%. Not at all satisfied is the biggest number there at 30%, and 21% are saying they're satisfied to some extent, which means the level of anti-incumbency against Eknath Shinde not as high as against Nayab Saini, and those who are very satisfied with the opposition is only 11%. Let's from there come to the performance of the MLA. Now, this is all MLAs. Do you like your MLA? What do people in Maharashtra tell us in this poll? 41% saying they're very satisfied. कहाँ से आए हो भाई? किससे बात करके आए हो यशवंत जी आप ये?
अभी एक्सप्लेन करने को बोलो ना.
41% saying they're very happy.
डेटा देना है, एक्सप्लेन करने का काम
Now,
राजदीप का है.
27% saying not at all satisfied. 26% saying they are satisfied. So if I were to just leave what you know of the politics of Maharashtra aside, if you were to look purely at the data, it suggests that there is some anti-incumbency, but not acute anti-incumbency like there is in Haryana, and that the opposition also potentially is not as strong as the Congress is in Haryana. So Haryana is easier, Rajdeep. Maharashtra is trickier than the other assembly elections.
But the thing is that, just to, before you go to Rajdeep, I mean on that one, because he knows that Maharashtra, big number of leaders are kind of, they have their own territories regardless of their parties. So MLAs and MPs who win in Maharashtra, they are less on the Kripa Drishti and Daya of their parties.
Which is why 41% are saying they like the MLA because they were strong guys.
They are on their own. They are not dependent on their party and leaders' popularity, number one. Number two, but number two, the lack of, this way, who is the chief minister will face? I mean, they should have projected. They should go ahead with that. Because 50% saying, kya jawab de? Kaun banne wala hai? Because unless you are clear, just like in Jharkhand, BJP was not projecting Babulal Marandi. There is a lack of, the consolidation of anti-incumbency. But I believe the moment, the very coherently, if the opposition moves with, probably with Thakeray's face, I think this all anti-incumbency would start.
Rajdeep, how do you interpret this?
I am not so sure. I actually look at my home state, and I'll get into trouble with my mother, among others, is that it is a transactional state. Maharashtrians look at Mala kai benefit milnar ahe. What is the benefit I will get? So even if it is 1,500 from the Ladli Bahin scheme, which has been started by Eknath Shinde a month ago, which is why I thought the dates were interesting. Remember, the Ladli Bahin scheme has come into effect now in terms of distribution only on April 17, August 17.
Yeah, that is why Mukhyamantry's numbers are.
But your poll is just, now they're actually getting the money in hand. You've got 36 districts. You're absolutely right. Each district has a satrap who virtually decides the patron-client relationship the largest. This is a state that works differently. There are, of course, localized factors. The Dalit Muslim factor played a huge role, I believe, in Vidarbha, and in particular, the Maratha reservation factor versus Kumbis played a huge role in Marathwada. Maharashtra is a state, Rahul, where every region has different local factors. There was huge agrarian distress in April, May.
Yes.
We've had a good monsoon.
I'm glad you mentioned
now,
a
good monsoon.
Very important data point. When we talk about the issues at hand, agrarian issues or the farmer issues as an important issue has come only in Maharashtra, not in Haryana, by the way, which is taken as an agrarian state. But in Haryana, unemployment was much bigger issue.
Sure,
But in Maharashtra,
we've had genuine agrarian distress, but we've had a good monsoon. You see, Maharashtrians will look at where they stand, therefore, come October, November. Just now, someone was saying the possibility that the Shinde government will actually give 3 installments of this Ladli Bahin scheme in September. So, September, October, November, kar diya. So, I'll have 4,500 in my pocket, and Diwali comes on 1st November. Per woman. So you see, I think Maharashtra is still game on.
But
it's
you know,
the one state where I would say I would be very disinclined to pick a winner.
Does one size fit all? Because we keep saying that, okay, this Ladli Bahin scheme, right?
Yes.
It happened with Shivraj Singh Chauhan because he was already looked down as a woman's chief minister.
Sure.
It happened with Mamta Banerjee, with Lokhit Bhandar, because she always gave to the women. It didn't happen in the state of Andhra Pradesh, which went into elections because at that point of time, the YSRCP did give a lot to women. They didn't buy it. It didn't happen in Delhi as well.
No, you make a very fine point.
Sabha.
No, you're absolutely right, Preeti. It's not as if one size fits all. All I'm saying is that because of a scheme of the scale that this is, you never know how the voter moves. I maintain no state, you can't win a state without the woman voter. The woman voter is today one of India's biggest vote banks. And my own sense is that the Shinde government
But it's
has...
not a monolith vote bank,
It's not
Rajdeep.
nothing.
Just because it happened in X state, it will happen in Y state.
I'm
It
not
doesn't
saying
work
that.
like
All
that.
I'm saying is that when I look at the Lok Sabha numbers, and I'm sure you look at that, the opposition dominated it. They dominated the Lok Sabha election. The BJP was reduced to just 9 seats in Maharashtra. They took a huge blow like they did in Uttar Pradesh. Come Vidhan Sabha, I think the contest will be tougher.
Okay.
That's all I'm saying.
Let's ask Sahil Joshi that question because he leads our team in Maharashtra. And what this data says is that the level of anti-incumbency in Maharashtra is lesser than the level of anti-incumbency against the BJP government in Haryana. And that while the India Alliance had 30 seats in the Lok Sabha election and the NDA had only 17, at this moment, it doesn't seem to suggest that they're as strongly placed, that Maharashtra actually has the BJP and the NDA alliance in with a real shot if these schemes are working. And therefore, Sahil, the question to you, the scheme of giving money directly into the bank accounts of women, the first tranche just went. What impact is it having? Could it be a game changer? Sahil?
Well, Rahul, if I understand correctly, the tracker was of 19th of August because I was going through the data and I was listening to the conversation which Yashwant and Rajdeep was having. And let me just add before I give my answer is that it was Yashwant Deshmukh and me who had predicted in 2023 January that there will be a third partner in Maharashtra's Shiv Sena BJP alliance, and eventually in 4 to 5 months, Ajit Pawar joined this particular alliance. But the numbers which Yashwant has come up with are really surprising because again it is taking me to the time before Lok Sabha. For everything there was an answer that okay, the fight is very close. So the Modi factor and the Labharthi will give an edge to the Mahayuti and they will get 24 to 30 seats, which couldn't happen. So, the people in Maharashtra are looking at elections in a different way. They can differentiate between the schemes and the politics on the ground. The people have voted against the politics which the Maharashtra has been seeing since last 2.5 years, not because of the government schemes. They were still beneficiaries of the schemes of the central government as well as the state government. But despite that, the voting in Lok Sabha was completely different altogether. The Modi factor did not work out at all in Maharashtra. Wherever Prime Minister had rallies, around 18 places he had rallies, most of the seats were lost by Mahayuti, and that is what is the track record what we are seeing even for the assembly. Now, they have put all their eggs in one basket. That is this Ladli Behna, in Marathi what we call Mukhyamantri Ladki Bahin scheme. But just to depend on one particular scheme is little bit too much because there are too many claimants. Unlike Madhya Pradesh, where Shivraj Singh Chauhan was the sole claimant of the scheme which was successful in Madhya Pradesh, the Ladli Behna, in Maharashtra there are 3 claimants. Chief Minister himself, Eknath Shinde, who has already started a campaign. Then there is Ajit Pawar, who is also saying that because I am the finance minister, I am the one who actually had pronounced this particular scheme. So Ajit Dada's Wada is what he's portraying in Maharashtra. And of course, there is a large chunk of the BJP which is also claiming that because this government is formed from our support, this is what we are trying to do. So still, I'm unsure that this
So
whole
what do you make of
Labharthi
the high
thing will
popularity of the chief
convert
minister,
into the worst of
Sahil,
it happened
the
in
fact
Madhya
that
Pradesh.
the level of satisfaction with him is much higher than in Jharkhand or Haryana. Does that corroborate with what you see around you? Because far fewer people dissatisfied with him, more actually satisfied with the chief minister in Maharashtra.
Well, Rahul, this is really interesting. In 2022, when we did the MOTN in January 2022, then of course in August 2022, and in January 2023, the approval ratings of Eknath Shinde were not as high as today. Eknath Shinde established himself as the chief minister. That's what we can clearly see. But is it enough to pull the three-party government to the full majority? That is what is the question which needs to be asked. Also, the interesting statistics which this MOTN numbers are showing is about the satisfaction with the respective MLAs. The 200 odd MLAs which the Mahayuti has, the NCP, Shiv Sena and the BJP, almost 80% of these MLAs are completing their third or fourth term. So, right now, it doesn't look like that there is any anti-incumbency against a specific MLA. The same thing happened even in the Lok Sabha elections. There was the anti-incumbency was not seen openly because these MLAs have been representing that particular seat since last 3 elections, or in some cases 4 and 5 elections. But because there is... Yes,
no, I
Raj.
take your point. I take your point about, MLAs. Many of them have been 3 and 4 time MLAs. This is the point I make. Many of them have their local constituencies, which are very solid. So irrespective of what happens around them, they tend to still win election, which is why I don't think the popularity of the CM is going to matter as much as local factors. Elections will be fought in a state like Maharashtra on local issues. Who is able to capitalize on his or her local patron-client relationship?
Rajdeep,
But
I have to add one
understand-
point in this.
Very quickly, Sahil, because then I'll get our other guests to tell us why Maharashtra is going to be so critical. Very quickly, Sahil.
I just want to add one point in this, because most of these MLAs which we are talking about who have been completing 3 to 4 terms belong to NCP and as well as Shiv Sena. But this is the first time these MLAs will be contesting their election minus Sharad Pawar or minus Thackeray's name. So will they be as successful as they have been since last 3 to 4 elections? It's something what we have to understand. And rightly so. That is the reason why the rating of the leader of opposition is so low, because the leader of opposition is from the Congress, seems to be completely faceless. The face of Maharashtra election are going to be Uddhav Thackeray and Sharad Pawar, specifically Uddhav Thackeray. So when that is the reason why the MVA leaders, specifically from Shiv Sena, are pushing that Uddhav Thackeray should be projected as their chief ministerial candidate or the face of Mahavikas Aghadi, so that there will be a face to the opposition which can be countered, which can be used to counter the Ladli Behan scheme or, the ratings of Eknath Shinde. And specifically with respect to Eknath Shinde, he has managed to retain his all MLAs.
It seems unlikely that at the moment they're going to project anyone. That's the sense we get. But I'm just trying to understand why Maharashtra matters. Sanju Verma, you've been unusually quiet.
You haven't given her a chance.
And we haven't given you a chance, which is very unfair. That's because we've got lots of guests. So with a short intervention, I want to understand from you. Would you concede that winning Maharashtra is now critical for you to offset what many believe was a setback in June 2024?
Rajdeep, first and foremost, as you yourself say, a Lok Sabha election is very different from an assembly election. I'll quickly tell you why the BJP's chances have actually fortified when it comes to assembly elections in Maharashtra. If you, take into account the history of Maharashtra, ever since Bombay Presidency became Maharashtra in May 1960, since then, for the last so many decades, every chief minister in Maharashtra has usually been a Congress party person or somebody from the breakaway faction of a Congress party or some affiliate of theirs. I can only think of 5 chief ministers: Murli Manohar Joshi, Eknath Shinde, Narayan Rane, Uddhav Thackeray. Can I finish?
No, Manohar Joshi, not Murli Manohar Joshi, ma'am.
Manohar Joshi, yeah. Manohar Joshi, Uddhav Thackeray, Eknath Shinde, Devendra Fadnavis. Barring these 5 or 6 odd people, virtually every chief minister has been from the Congress camp or from an affiliate camp of theirs. Despite that, I want to ask you, what is the single most important issue today which is prevailing on the mind of 13 crore odd population of Maharashtra? It is obviously, let's not beat around the bush, it is reservation for the Maratha/Kunbi community. And let's be very clear that the Congress had ample time over the decades, they did nothing. You know, Rahul Gandhi keeps going from here to there and screaming from every rooftop, Jati batao, OBC ke liye kya kiya, Dalit ke liye kya kiya, tribals ke liye kya kiya. महाराष्ट्र में बीजेपी ने ये किया. अभी ध्यान से सुनिए. Thanks to Devendra Fadnavis, there's a petition pending in the Supreme Court which has said that outside of the 52% threshold, which has already been reached in terms of reservation for OBCs, let there be a 16% additional reservation for the Maratha Kunbi class. And you will be surprised to know that the Sandeep Shinde committee was set up last year, somewhere in September, October of 2023. And as you and me speak today, what will be a game changer is the fact that 40 million new people have been given OBC status under the Maratha Kunbi category. And this is something that is already documented. And the other thing, very quickly, wait, you guys have been talking about Majhi Ladki Bahin Yojana, whereby, you know, women between 21 and 60 years of age will get 1,500 rupees per month. But you forget, this is not all. You have forgotten that the health insurance under Jyotiba Phule Arogya Yojana has been raised per individual, not per family, from 1.5 lakh to 5 lakh per annum.
Okay, what we're trying to do is focus on the mood of the nation data. We'll have a separate show, which is a full conversation on the performance of Maharashtra. I'm coming back to it. Okay, very quickly, but I want to stick to this data. We can have a larger conversation in Maharashtra some other day. For the moment, let's stick to the mood of the nation data.
Your mood of the nation very clearly says one thing. You don't need to be a rocket scientist to understand. When it comes to chief ministership, Eknath Shinde, either people are very satisfied or reasonably satisfied. That percentage is 66%. When it comes to the state government, either very satisfied or reasonably satisfied, that data is 59%. If with a 59% to 66% popularity rating of the incumbent state government / the incumbent chief minister, you're saying that the BJP faces a Herculean task, then either your data is wrong or you're prejudiced and you can't read the data properly.
Okay. Very strong words as always from Sanju Verma.
No, but broadly, Amitabh Tiwari, what this data shows is, unlike 2024 Lok Sabha elections, where the BJP got terribly knocked down by the India Alliance, they're in with a chance, which is also potentially why Maharashtra is going to polls up, at a time after Haryana. So there is a gap. As these schemes roll out, as money starts going into the accounts of the women, the BJP big guns hope that they can swing Maharashtra and shut up their critics, because if they win Maharashtra, a lot of the anti-incumbency, the anger or the spring in the step of people in Anshul Avijit's party, all of that will have to calm down, because if they win Maharashtra despite everything, that's a very big win for the BJP if they can pull it off.
Yeah, so even if we see the 2024 Lok Sabha elections, it was a fairly close election. 44% each vote share, 30-17 in terms of Lok Sabha seats. But in terms of assembly segments, it was 154-127. 145 is a simple majority mark. Many seats were won with less than 5% to 10%. It was a close election because now there are 6 parties instead of 4 parties. And as your tracker shows, on each of the parameters, which is the state government, the CM phase, and the MLAs, the net satisfaction rating is more than 20%. In fact, the net satisfaction rating of the leader of opposition is just 2%, same as what we see in Jharkhand, of course, because there's no proper or a clear phase in terms of the LOP. Now, Maharashtra is a tricky election, a seat by seat and a very region by region election, as Rajdeep said, because the 5-6 regions are very different from each other. The issues are very different. It all boils down to what is the level of a tight seat level distribution amongst both the alliances. What are the chances, or what is the percentage of rebels from each side? Because now we have 6 parties, Shiv Sena, UBT candidate contesting against each other, and there are a lot of local dynamics. In Lok Sabha elections also, many party leaders worked against their party in favor of other candidates. So it's a very highly localized election. But theoretically, conceptually, the high the local election becomes, it becomes difficult for the incumbent government, because the incumbent government would want to fight on a state level narrative. Last point is that while there are,
I think you make a fine point that there, that it's difficult to build a state level narrative in Maharashtra. We have to rush a bit through, but I want to get everyone to give a quick point
Can I
on Maharashtra.
show the actual data for MOTN? Okay,
Please go ahead.
So what we'll do is we'll now project what might happen in Maharashtra in a Lok Sabha context. Now, I want to make this very clear. Take this with that caveat built in that this is a Lok Sabha number. 30-17 was the breakup in the Lok Sabha elections of 2024. 17 for the Congress, 17 for the Uddhav Balasaheb Thackeray and the Sharad Pawar NCP taken together, 13 for the Congress, 8 for the BJP, and 9 for the BJP, and 8 for the Shiv Sena NCP, the breakaway factions. Now, if we look at what C voters projecting for Maharashtra, the Congress goes up from 13 to 16, potentially being the single largest party. The BJP goes up from 9 to 12. The Shiv Sena and the NCP together, that's Ajit Pawar and Eknath Shinde, come down from 8 to 6. And Uddhav Thackeray and Sharad Pawar's factions taken together come down from 17 to 14. So, ये समझाओ ये क्यों हो रहा है? Yashwant Deshmukh, why is the Congress going up 3 seats, the BJP going up 3 seats, and the smaller parties taken together as a grouping are actually coming down 3 in the case of Uddhav Thackeray and Sharad Pawar, and 2 in the case of Eknath Shinde and Ajit Pawar?
Because a lot of marginal seats, as just now, Amitabh mentioned that it was a pretty close election in Maharashtra. A big number of seats actually varied between a very small margin. So the vote split, whenever you apply the marginal seats, many a times it flips, and they flip in regional manner. This is why the Congress numbers are actually going up, which actually tells me a trend, actually Congress consolidating further in Marathwada and Vidarbha.
If that happens, then it's game, set, and almost match. I think Congress is the key, Anshul Abjit, and I want to get quick remarks from all of you to that. Anshul Abjit, you first. Who is the driver of this alliance? Because I think Amitabh Tiwari made a big point that eventually how you cement the alliance on the ground will matter. You don't get the right candidates, they'll all become rebels and you lose. Is the Congress the driver? Is Uddhav Thackeray the driver? Is Sharad Pawar the driver? And is anyone the face?
No, the alliance is already cemented. I mean, look at our performance last time. And the Congress's strike rate was outstanding, 13 out of 17 fought. I think when you're talking about the mood of the nation, you must remember a few things. I think the mood of the nation very quickly is an indictment against the policies of the Prime Minister himself. I mean, they're a complete mess. They're a bundle of confusion. And if you're talking about Maratha reservations, well, this lateral entry thing, what has happened is has put no confidence in the activists who are fighting for reservations for Marathas. And by the way, if that is going to be the central issue in the elections, then I must say that the protagonist of the agitation trained his guns at Mr. Fadnavis, who seems to be the weak link in this entire election. In fact, I mean, there are reports coming in that whether he's changed and he should be out of Maharashtra and somebody else should be brought in. There are 3 principal protagonists at the moment in power there. They're all daggers drawn. Mr. Ajit Pawar is saying something. Sorry?
Who is do you have a face? Would you put out a face?
No,
we would. Want to put out a chief minister face?
No, come on. Come on, you know the answer to that question. This is an alliance and we work together. There is a consensus building that goes on in every single alliance. This has been asked about, even about UP, about every other state. I mean, it works as every other state. I don't quite agree with you that Maharashtra is sui generis because it is 5 states rolled into one.
Okay.
And, other states are not. There are unifying factors, and the indictment of the Prime Minister.
I need to get it, my guess. Okay, I need to, starting with you, Raj Chengappa. Let's go quickly round the table. 30 seconds, Raj. Limited time. Is there one big takeaway that you have from the MOTN on Maharashtra?
I think if you compare what was projected earlier in terms of the state polls versus what the MOTN showed, very clearly there's a dichotomy. The state polls were showing Shinde and others being popular, the great amount of satisfaction. But if you look at the Lok Sabha, it is status quo, which means the seat percentages the vote percentage as well as seats, they remain the same, right? 30 seats for the MVA.
28 for the MVA versus 18 for the NDA.
Right. So if you take a look, it stays somewhat the same in terms of what had happened in the Lok Sabha. So the Lok Sabha was not an aberration. So this means that there is a great amount of dissatisfaction with the current leadership over there, given the fact that Mr. Modi was a big factor earlier in terms of the Maharashtra. And
which is a good point, Sheila, to bring. Somehow the Modi factor is no longer as overwhelming in Maharashtra.
Okay,
Rajdeep,
now
you didn't give me 30 seconds.
Please. Yes,
You did
yeah,
interrupted me at 20. That leads you to believe that despite whatever the findings are there, people are unhappy with that particular combination and the way they went about their business. That is not going away. The way they got Ajit Pawar to defect, the way they broke the Shinde, there is still not forgiveness in that from what we can see. And that, I think, will be one of the factors that will determine the outcome.
Point taken, Sheila, but Gujarati versus Marathi. You see, Gujarati versus Marathi pride. I'm seeing it in the campaigns that the NCP, Sharad Pawar particularly, is running outsiders versus locals, Maharashtrian pride, not Maratha. I want to understand from you, why is the Modi-Shah factor not working in Maharashtra? Somewhere they are seen as outsiders now.
Okay, Radip, my home state is also Maharashtra.
Yes,
so
we welcome you. I welcome you as a Gujarati living in Mumbai.
No, I'm born and brought up in Maharashtra and my parents also. So I'm a Pakka.
But on the ground, it's not working.
Let us talk about, because I hardly any time. So let me tell you first thing. I think lot of BJP entire supporter system and everything, everybody is watching Maharashtra. Why? Because everybody wants that Modi's leadership, which started in a big way on a national mindscape in 2001, has got one break now in 2024. Maharashtra election and post-Maharashtra election, Modi will have a fantastic opportunity if they win, and a very, very tough time if they lose.
Why is, as our poll shows, the Modi factor is not there?
I'm saying something.
I'm asking you,
where does the poll show that?
But because you see, if there was a Modi factor, then the BJP should be well ahead of the Congress. Please understand this, Rahul. The one state where the Congress bested the BJP in direct fights, forget about Uttar Pradesh. Uttar Pradesh, you needed the Samajwadi Party. In Maharashtra, direct fights, Vidarbha, Marathwada, the Congress defeated the BJP.
No, but they had Uddhav Thackeray and then Sharad Pawar.
Not in those regions.
It's not about regions. Yeah, it's the total of the vote. People also know that Uddhav Thackeray and Sharad Pawar. Take Akhilesh away from the Congress in Uttar Pradesh. How many seats will the Congress get?
That's exactly my point.
Take Uddhav Thackeray and NCP, Sharad Pawar away from the Congress in the same seats that you're talking about.
Congress wins. Congress won 13.
That's a hypothetical scenario, sir, because people know that Uddhav Thackeray and Sharad Pawar are part of the same ticket.
My friend.
In an alliance.
My friend Rahul.
Sharad Pawar win Wardha seat, you tell me. Wardha is the home base of Congress party. They could have never entered that party till the point they don't have an alliance. Pick Wardha as a seat.
Sure. Look, I think what happened in Maharashtra, at least that's what the data shows, and Yashwant can correct me. There was a massive Dalit Muslim consolidation as well as the Maratha factor operating in some parts of the state. None of that has changed in 4 months. And the fact is, Mr. Modi was very popular in Maharashtra in 2014. He lifted the BJP to party number one. The BJP please understand, Rahul, since 2014 till 2024, BJP was Maharashtra's party number one, ahead of even the Shiv Sena. This is the first election where we've seen in 2024 Lok Sabha that changing, sir, and Congress returning to power in the state which was their original bastion. I'm trying to reflect, Rahul, only on your numbers, since you say MOTN. As per MOTN, Congress is ahead of the BJP in Maharashtra.
But there is a but there. The but is that in Haryana, if you look at the data, it's game over. Now, whatever it's very difficult. In Maharashtra, it is not game over.
Absolutely.
The fact that obviously if you're sitting at 30 out of 48, then you go into the assembly elections with the advantage. There can be no question about that.
I agree with you more. All
That's the limited point I'm making.
Maybe Rajat Sethi wants, you see, this is the state where Mr. Modi should be, as Viksit Bharat, industrialized state, which unfortunately has declined in the last 10 years. One of the things we don't recognize, Maharashtra now has declined sharply in terms of industrialization. I'm just trying to understand, why is the Modi factor not overwhelming in Maharashtra? Is it that you played this kind of local chess chess politics of Amit Shah, isko todo, usko todo, and the people are saying, "Aap log humko kab tak todoge?" And there is a Maharashtrian sense of pride. She may not admit it, but that's what I see on the
No,
ground.
I agree. There is some.
They're seen as Gaddars today.
There is a bigger story that is,
But
you know,
why
that
do you
BJP
think
observers.
BJP Marathi people don't have a Marathi pride? Of course they have.
Of course they have,
So
but
why are you saying-
but the
I
opposition
don't
has
think- I
painted
don't
the
think
BJP
the
as an
projects-
outsider
I
party.
They've been
think
saying that the
BJP is
projects
not
are leaving
open
out of
discarded.
Maharashtra. going
They
to
have
Gujarat
cleverly
and all of that.
projected projects are going to Gujarat. They're
some of
leaving
those.
Maharashtra. This is the kind of narrative which is
You know
playing.
what BJP's observers are clearly saying that look at all the big cosmopolitans of India: Delhi, Kolkata,
Yes.
Bangalore, Hyderabad, Chennai. If Mumbai also goes away, you know, all the big engines, big urban engines of India are with the opposition. So that psychologically sort of doesn't suit well. And this is why it is such a high stake battle there. First point. Second thing is that, you know, what we had seen, why has the MBA, the Aghadi, has taken a little bit of a beating in the MOTN is they have just stopped speaking. I mean, the way Supriya Sule used to...
They got overconfident.
Yes, Supriya
I
Sule
agree.
started talking about this Adrishya Shakti dividing our parties. They were the underdogs in the David Goliath battle, you know, really becoming a Bechara and a David. Right now, they've just stopped doing their politics that they were doing prior to the elections. Another thing is, vote transfer was a very critical component in the Lok Sabha elections. NCP was not able to get BJP vote. NCP, Ajit Pawar. And Ajit Pawar's vote was not going to the BJP and Shiv Sena. Now that factor is out because it's such a local election. You don't have to worry about vote transfers
And
that much.
you may remove
So
Ajit Pawar from your Mahayuti. Who knows what happened? Yes, very
That's
quickly.
exactly two things I'd watch out for, Rajdeep, because if you look at the MOTN data, then the number which is unsatisfied with the chief minister is lesser than the number unsatisfied with the opposition. So number one, what I would look out for is in terms of will their sympathy for Uddhav Thackeray actually last till the election comes in, one. Number two, will Ajit Pawar actually be?
And
with
one of the top
BJP,
leaders we met,
going into the
Kaushik,
election?
from the India Alliance said what was concerning him was whether the anger that had built had got
Will it dissipate?
swept away.
Yeah.
That as it got flushed out.
One time
As it got flushed out,
Yeah.
that gussa tha, wo ek baar niyo hai.
Lok Sabha
Now,
में it has got
they say, okay, हमने
pressure
मजा
cooker
सिखा
is
दिया,
there.
we've taught a lesson.
Now, in the glass half full and glass half empty thing, you know, audience knows that me and Rajdeep, more often than not, we end up in a different kind of debate, glass half full and glass
What are
half
you
empty.
drinking?
But somehow, depends on that as well. But somehow, on Maharashtra, I tend to agree with Rajdeep. You know, the strange, for me, when I look at the data
kaun
of
jeetega ye batao na.
Maharashtra, no, for me, it's a story of a strange rise of Congress in Maharashtra. Don't get offended by the word strange. People get offended by anything you say these days, but strange because just 5 years back, 10 years back, 2014 Lok Sabha, Vidhan Sabha election, when every party contested individually, Congress literally became party number 4 in Maharashtra.
But that's the point I was
Strange.
making to Rajdeep.
Just let me complete
Yes.
my point. Strange because Congress is the only faceless party in Maharashtra. Faceless, Strange because in the entire narrative of Maharashtra politics, nobody discusses Congress.
But Kaushik, is the Congress really therefore making a comeback, or could it get complacent? You see, the Samvidhan khatre mein hai, Rahul Gandhi's yatra, all of that worked in Maharashtra. But was that a one-time
No,
ticket?
I don't think so. In Maharashtra, I believe this will be a contest between Congress and BJP. So for the actual results, what will happen will depend on how the smaller parties perform. I think Congress and BJP both will do better than what they did in Lok Sabha.
Okay,
That's
so we
my-
are out of time. I don't want to be unfair to Jammu and Kashmir. Anybody who speaks now is doing na-insafi to Jammu Kashmir.
Rahul-
So now, who wants to speak? Can I take a point? You want to do injustice to the people
Well,
of
she's
Jammu and
very
Kashmir.
upset that I've tried to create some Maharashtrian Gujarati divide. I'm only telling you what's on the
He
ground.
wants to tell us that Maharashtra Vikas Aghadi is ahead, but I'm saying this is a
Who?
very...
I never said that. I said it's a tough fight.
By arguing with me, you want me to say.
No,
But
I'm only going by MOTN.
No, but
MOTN puts them
Rahul, on a
ahead.
serious note, I want to say that this is a fantastic election of important region, where two factions of Shiv Sena, two factions of NCP, Congress and BJP are fighting to become the largest party.
Okay, Sahil,
This
20
is a
seconds,
very
final
unique
words.
election.
Yeah, let's give Sahil the final, but let's ask him that, Sahil, who's winning? You should tell us now. Well, forget all of us. You should, sitting in Mumbai, be able to tell us who's winning Maharashtra.
I think nobody should say who's
Sahil,
winning
20
Rajdeep.
seconds.
Well, Rajdeep, before Lok Sabha, I was telling you some predictions. You did not believe me, and you saw what happened actually. Again, I want to repeat the same thing. What it looks like is that there is a definitely age to Mahavikas Aghadi, but at the same time, because these elections are different, and we have seen the numbers that how the existing MLAs have got good ratings from the people. 41% people still believe that their MLA is good. That is where the Mahavikas Aghadi will have to fight out, because they will be having at least more than 50% new candidates against the people who have been winning since last 3 to 4 elections. So this election is also going to be David against Goliath, and Mahavikas Aghadi is going to be that David. And how well they fight this election, because their alliance is properly weaved in. The trouble for Mahayuti is that despite Eknath Shinde's approval ratings are increasing, their alliance is still not weaved in the way it should have been after Lok Sabha elections. So the fight is going to be on the ground for them, and how well they manage to have their votes transferred to each other is going to decide the fate of Mahayuti in Maharashtra. And
What this
specifically,
poll
this
means
election
is that
will also
Maharashtra will
decide
be
which Shiv Sena
massively
will.
exciting. Sahil, Rajdeep, everyone else who tracks Maharashtra will be out in the villages, the towns, the cities of the state, because this will be one hell of an electoral contest. May the best man, woman, child win.
And the irony, I want to say this, is that when I joined this profession in '88, I was told Maharashtra is one of the most boring states in the country when it comes to election, because all that happens is Congress fights with Congress. Now you've got 6 parties, and we are not even mentioning Prakash Ambedkar, who Albert got finished in the Lok Sabha, but in a few pockets of Akola and all.
To everyone in Jammu and Kashmir, and to everyone who cares about Jammu and Kashmir, I tried my hardest to take a break 10 minutes before now. It just didn't work. I'm really sorry for that. We'll take a break now. We'll bring you the results of the MOTN tracker from Jammu and Kashmir when we come back to the other side.
It's the June general elections, and remember, it comes as several states are going to the polls in the next few months, and there is no bigger state than the state of Maharashtra. 48 Lok Sabha seats, second largest state in the country's commercial capital of Mumbai, and therefore what happens in Maharashtra, Rahul, could actually set the narrative for the next 12 months, whether the Modi government is now completely on the back foot, or whether the Modi government recovers from the slight setback it suffered in the June general elections.
Forget the data. आप बताओ जीत कौन है?
I have completely given up. I am still reeling under my mea culpa of not getting the 2024 general elections right. But I got Maharashtra right when I said that the opposition would be ahead of the BJP-led alliance, not by the amount, though. That I didn't think that it would be such a big difference. I thought it would be closer. But my own sense is Maharashtra is one of the most difficult states to predict, Rahul, quite simply because it's not one state. There are 5 states: Vidarbha, Marathwada, Western Maharashtra, Konkan, Mumbai, and to some extent Northern Maharashtra are 5 different states that often vote differently. And as a statistical data point, it is the only state, I think, in the country in the last 40 years that has not had a single party majority government. So for 40 years, you've had Mili-Juli sarkars in Maharashtra. I'm trying to think whether there's any other state in the country which for 40 years has not thrown up a majority government, which is why very difficult to predict Maharashtra.
After Haryana, you said you are not going to be charitable. Now, please be charitable enough. For the last 2 years, 4 issues of Raj's MOTN, we were the only one to keep on hammering it out. It's not going to go well for the NDA. It's going bad. And you were pretty much doing 1 hour telecast in Marathi with me, dicing those numbers. Be charitable, say it.
No, sure. I think on Maharashtra, we've picked up a trend for the last 2 years, despite the break in the Shiv Sena, despite the break in the NCP. The truth of the matter is the chemistry of Maharashtra, Rahul Yashwant, was certainly against the ruling government for the manner in which these regional parties were broken. But I think when a Vidhan Sabha election comes, we've got to be a little bit more cautious, because you're looking, as I said, at a state which effectively is 5 states rolled into one, with different trends possibly emerging, even though in the Lok Sabha that didn't happen. Lok Sabha saw the resurgence of the Congress. And if that continues, then advantage certainly to the opposition.
I think for the clarity of the audience, I will just explain what Rajdeep is trying to say. That, in Maharashtra, everybody is too over-focused on BJP's alliance with the Ajit Pawar group or Shinde Sena group. But the fact was, BJP in the Lok Sabha election actually lost in Marathwada and Vidar, which was the core BJP core area. You know, losing to Congress in those areas where there was no Ajit Pawar, there was no Shinde, no Shiv Sena, no Sharad Pawar. So basically, BJP's problem in Maharashtra is no more the factions where they are contesting with. BJP's problem in Maharashtra is right now their home ground of Vidarbha and Marathwada.
Okay, let's pause the panditry just for a moment to look at the data. Leave all your biases aside. Just focus on the data for what it tells you about Maharashtra. And I hope that you've been watching our show from the beginning, because if you compare the same answers in Haryana and Jharkhand with Maharashtra, then a real picture emerges. Then you know where things stand, because data by itself means nothing. It's only relative when seen in a larger picture. So, are you satisfied with the performance of the state government? 33% are saying not satisfied at all. In Haryana, this was 44%. So if 33% are saying it's not satisfied at all, which means that the level of anger against Eknath Shinde in Maharashtra is significantly lesser than the level of anger against Nayab Singh Saini and the Haryana government. That's point number one. Now, how satisfied are you? 25% are saying very satisfied. That means 1 in 4 are saying they're very satisfied. How will Maharashtra be decided? It is these 34% who are kind of satisfied but not fully satisfied who will determine. Typically, this 34% gets distributed into these two boxes. Some will come here, some will come there. Now, depending on the percentage that slips into the not satisfied at all category, that's how low the NDA will go. Then depending on the people who say that they are very satisfied and they from here on polling day move here, then this percentage goes up in terms of where the vote percentage of the government will then be. Let's now come to the next question. How satisfied are you with Eknath Shinde? I think Mr. Shinde will be quite delighted to see that 35% of the respondents are actually very satisfied. Remember, in Haryana, 40% said they were not satisfied at all. That's only 28% in Maharashtra. So if you're expecting Haryana-like anti-incumbency in Maharashtra, you aren't finding it in the India Today Mood of the Nation poll. There is anti-incumbency. 3 in 10 are not satisfied at all. But it is not as acute as it is in Haryana. Satisfied to some extent are 31. But the bigger number there, the biggest number there is 35% saying they're very satisfied with Eknath Shinde, which many political observers may be a bit surprised with, but you know, take the data for what it is. This is what the data is showing. That's what we're telling you, and that's where things stand in Maharashtra. How satisfied are you with the opposition leader of Maharashtra? That is a bit confusing because it's not clear who the opposition leader is. Is it Uddhav Thackeray? Is it Sharad Pawar? But when this question is asked without giving a name, only 11% are very satisfied. Now, remember, this is even worse than the BJP in Jharkhand, where this was in the, you know, the low double digits, like just 18, 19%. Level of people saying they're very satisfied with the opposition leader in Maharashtra is only 11%. Not at all satisfied is the biggest number there at 30%, and 21% are saying they're satisfied to some extent, which means the level of anti-incumbency against Eknath Shinde not as high as against Nayab Saini, and those who are very satisfied with the opposition is only 11%. Let's from there come to the performance of the MLA. Now, this is all MLAs. Do you like your MLA? What do people in Maharashtra tell us in this poll? 41% saying they're very satisfied. Because there is no chief minister there, we don't have questions and answers on people's perception about the performance of the state government and the chief minister and the opposition. I'll take you through the questions that we do have. Has your living standard improved in the last 1 year? The reason I'm showing you these questions is they'll give you a sense of how happy or unhappy the general people of Jammu and Kashmir are. So question number 1, your living standard in the past 1 year. 32% saying it's improved. So 3 in 10 say it's getting better. 34% say it's the same. So again, for 3.5 in 10 say it's the same. And 25% say it's got worse. So the number of people who think they're doing better is higher than the number of people who think the situation's gotten worse. So that's one broad sense of how voters in Jammu and Kashmir perceive their positions at this moment. What about income? Is your income going up? Is your income going down? Income up, expenditure up, say 13%. Income is the same, expenditure up, say 30%. Income down, expenditure up. That's the problem category. Income is going down, expenditure going up 38%. Income up, expenditure down 2%. So basically, people think expenditure is going up, income going down 38%. That is typically problematic for whoever is running the state. But remember, there is no one running the state. And therefore, it just shows that there is angst. There's general angst over there. What about expenses? So we dealt with income, let's deal with expenses. So those who say that expenses are up, but they are manageable, 20%, saying it's getting difficult to manage. Difficult to manage, say 67%. Expenses have gone down, say only 5%. So again, price rise, expenses going up, pinching, 67%. What's the most important issue? The most important issue. Unemployment, say almost half the respondents, 47% say that unemployment is the number one issue. Rising prices is 17% and development is 11%. So the most important issue is unemployment at 47%. Now, I'll show you the Lok Sabha 24 numbers versus how things might be in a hypothetical Lok Sabha election at this moment. So that's coming up on your screen right now. The BJP won 2 seats, Jammu and Udhampur in the Lok Sabha elections. They hold on to those. The Congress blanked out across the state. They still blank out in the Lok Sabha context. The NC had 2. They'll continue to have 2. The PDP will pick up that 1 seat now in a Lok Sabha projection done by C-Voter. So this doesn't really tell our viewers very much. Yashwant, on the basis of the data that you have access to, if you were asked to directionally suggest what an assembly election in Jammu and Kashmir at this moment could look like, what's your answer?
I guess the trends are suggesting that once the 370 thing is done and dusted, people are now more focused on their day-to-day life, the problems, of unemployment, how to go about their lives. That is what they are focused on. Obviously, there is a very clear-cut division of the Valley and the Jammu, and the new delimitation. The Jammu seats have significantly, come almost at par with the Valley region. So that is one thing. I guess that just like Maharashtra, now that we can normally talk about Jammu and Kashmir as a state, Rajdeep, in that way, Congress,
Not a state. Still a union
it's still not.
territory.
I'm just saying, in terms of assembly elections, yeah. I think Congress task is carved out very clear. They need to just somehow pull up 10, 15 seats out of the Jammu region. Because national
that's where
conference,
the alliance becomes very
that's why the alliance becomes important. Because national conference, I am somehow getting from the data, when you compare with the PDP, is clearly a much ahead in that race. And there would be a huge number of smaller independent candidates, in fray and might be winning.
Which is the last point. Remember what happened in North Kashmir just now in the Lok Sabha?
Exactly.
Who won? Engineer Rashid.
Exactly.
Defeated Sajjad Lone and Omar Abdullah. And now a number of candidates who are not getting tickets from the NC or PDP are going to him. He's forged his own party. He's just applied to the court to be allowed to...
Exactly.
BJP would love it. Sure. So therefore you have a situation possibly of the Valley getting split. Whether they come together post-poll is another matter. But the Valley getting split, Jammu also, there is no guarantee that the BJP is going to sweep Jammu at all.
Well, the polarization that might happen in Kashmir, because see, when Engineer Rashid comes out, he will take a very sectarian position.
Sure.
You will see that competitively PDP and all, like this is what Shailaji was talking about.
Rashid Engineer will be a bowler who will be playing googly every day.
Yeah, so I think you've got a very complicated election, Raj Chengappa, if I'm right, in Jammu and Kashmir. Also, given delimitation, what it did to the balance of power between Jammu and Kashmir. There's no Ladakh this time. All of that changes the equation. We saw in the last time elections were there. A post-poll arrangement had to be formed between Mufti Mohammad Saeed and Narendra Modi, which was, many believe, good for Kashmir. It built bridges between Jammu and the Valley. Do you see that happening again? Is that the only way forward, in a way, that you're going to have to bring Jammu and the Valley closer together?
Rajdeep, Jammu and Kashmir is truly difficult to predict. I don't envy Yashwant's job in this, because the last time we had an assembly election was 2014. We haven't seen really people tested on the ground on this particular thing. We've seen the Lok Sabha, we saw the turnout. The world will be watching this election. Let's be very clear. Though it is, the people of, particularly the Valley, are not too happy that they're not an independent state as they were earlier. But if you take a look at what has happened post-delimitation, that's going to change some of the equations. As Yashwant had mentioned earlier, the Valley had a larger number of seats, so you could immediately decide who would win, and you needed a coalition partner. It sometimes would be the BJP, as we saw with the PDP in 2014, and you had the National
And
Conference
the
earlier with the
reserve seats
Congress.
for the scheduled tribe,
That's right.
that hasn't happened.
So that dynamics is yet tested. So we are looking at, I think, from whatever we are seeing in the, if you take the Mood of the Nation poll, the national level things, there's a clear divide already over there. And certainly the NCP, the National Conference Party will gain a lot over there because the PDP had the earlier chance in 2014. So that is one trend that's there. But as you had earlier said, it is not very clear that Jammu would go fully for the BJP as used to normally.
Well, back in 1996, when we did the first opinion poll in Kashmir, and for the record, it was the first ever opinion poll ever done, election opinion poll ever done in Kashmir. Since then, I have been going back on Kashmir data again and again because it's fascinating. Dil aur dimag ki ladai hai, because Kashmir ka issue bahut alag tha. For the first time, I'm looking at that the issues which were predominant even at that point of time, people had a livelihood issue, but at the same time, वो दिल की लड़ाई के दिमाग की लड़ाई के ऊपर दिल ज्यादा काम करता था. Is this time, Rajdeep, I'm somehow sensing that the issue of Kashmir, as we think about it, somehow it is now getting on the back burner. Even though you will
There's
argue,
no way
that
Engineer Rashid would have won if it was on the back burner. It was a protest vote. It was a protest vote. How can we say Article 370 and Kashmir identity is not an issue? How would someone like him win from jail?
I would like to point out that whenever you went to Kashmir,
I am talking about.
whenever I went to Kashmir,
I'm talking
the people
about,
are very hurt with what happened with this thing.
Yes,
so let us.
But what I'm
there is
trying
not
to
immediate
say,
reconciliation
it's
in this
now
process.
on the back burner that
No,
it
it's
is
not.
I don't
done.
agree. I don't agree.
I don't believe that
It's going to be there.
This
It
is
an
where
issue.
Panditri has taken over. The data has its limitations, and frankly, in Jammu and Kashmir, our data is sketchy. I'd say watch out for alliance formation. If there is a strong alliance, the picture looks different. If they fight separately, it looks different. So therefore, alliance formation.
We don't
becomes
even know,
important.
Rahul, what our old friend Ghulam Nabi Azad will do. Which way will Azad express his Azadi? So there are lots of
The NC Congress alliance is coming together.
So NC Congress is coming together, but
NC
that will
Congress is
require the
coming
Congress to pull in votes from Jammu
region.
and the NC to consolidate.
Just simple
You
thing.
see, even
how
the
many
NC is
states Congress wins in Jammu,
Jammu will be
or how many others win in Kashmir Valley? That
Sure.
will decide.
No,
the game
because you
plan.
see, the NC is no longer necessarily going to sweep the valley. Those days are gone. The PDP is no longer the force that it once was. You've got other parties and independents emerge. And even in Jammu, you will have a much more competitive election, I'm sure. Particularly when you have an election after 10 years. The good news is when you have election after 10 years, everybody wants to fight the election.
That's true.
But what it also shows is that people aren't as unhappy as some people in the studio and elsewhere may believe. That they're saying that their condition has improved is 32%.
Right.
So, there is obviously general angst, but the level of unhappiness is not acute, at least when it comes to economic issues. Obviously, on the issue of political will and whether they get to affirm it is a different matter, but they're not terribly unhappy. That's what the data says. We're slipping into a break. When we come back, we'll get you the large national picture, the big macro national picture of where things are. We'll go to some important states and take you through those as well. So there's a lot still left. When we come back on the other side of a very quick break, you're watching India Today's telecast of the 24th year of the Mood of the Nation poll. We don't have questions and answers on people's perception about the performance of the state government and the chief minister and the opposition. I'll take you through the questions that we do have. Has your living standard improved in the last 1 year? The reason I'm showing you these questions is they'll give you a sense of how happy or unhappy the general people of Jammu and Kashmir are. So question number 1, your living standard in the past 1 year, 32% saying it's improved. So 3 in 10 say it's getting better. 34% say it's the same. So again, or 3.5 in 10 say it's the same. And 25% say it's got worse. So the number of people who think they're doing better is higher than the number of people who think the situation's gotten worse. So that's one broad sense of how voters in Jammu and Kashmir perceive their positions at this moment. What about income? Is your income going up? Is your income going down? Income up, expenditure up, say 13%. Income is the same, expenditure up, say 30%. Income down, expenditure up. That's the problem category. Income is going down, expenditure going up, 38%. Income up, expenditure down, 2%. So basically, people think expenditures going up, income going down 38%. That is typically problematic for whoever is running the state. But remember, there is no one running the state. And therefore, it just shows that there is angst. There's general angst over there. What about expenses? So we dealt with income, let's deal with expenses. So those who say that expenses are up, but they are manageable, 20%, saying it's getting difficult to manage, difficult to manage, say 67%, expenses have gone down, say only 5%. So again, price rise, expenses going up, pinching 67%. What's the most important issue? The most important issue, unemployment, say almost half the respondents, 47% say that unemployment is the number one issue. Rising prices is 17% and development is 11%. So the most important issue is unemployment at 47%. Now, I'll show you the Lok Sabha 24 numbers versus how things might be in a hypothetical Lok Sabha election at this moment. So that's coming up on your screen right now. The BJP won 2 seats, Jammu and Udhampur in the Lok Sabha elections. They hold on to those. The Congress blanked out across the state. They still blank out in the Lok Sabha context. The NC had 2. They'll continue to have 2. The PDP will pick up that 1 seat now in a Lok Sabha projection done by C-Voter. So this doesn't really tell our viewers very much. Yashwant, on the basis of the data that you have access to, if you were asked to directionally suggest what an assembly election in Jammu and Kashmir at this moment could look like, what's your answer?
I guess the trends are suggesting that once the 370 thing is done and dusted, people are now more focused on their day-to-day life, the problems, of unemployment, how to go about their lives. That is what they are focused on. Obviously, there is a very clear-cut division of the Valley and the Jammu, and the new delimitation. The Jammu seats have significantly, come almost at par with the Valley region. So that is one thing. I guess that just like Maharashtra, now that we can normally talk about Jammu and Kashmir as a state, Rajdeep, in that way, Congress,
Not a state.
Elections are held today. Has there been a mood shift after that dramatic verdict of the 2024 general elections? Rahul has all the big numbers. With us also special guests are joining us. Kaushik Deka of India Today, Rajat Sethi, political analyst, Preeti Chaudhary, my colleague, Yashwant Deshmukh of C-Voter. They've done the polls, so when things go wrong, remember, always blame Yashwant, and pollsters are now an endangered species at the moment.
I have been being there for the last 20 years of running the MOTM with you.
And there is Sheila Dikshit, Sheila Bhatt, senior journalist. Thank you very much for joining us. Raj Chengappa of India Today, our editorial director, is with us. But Rahul, take it away with all the big numbers.
Let me first build in a few caveats. This data set is coming soon on the back of the actual Lok Sabha results. And therefore, there is no Lok Sabha election in the horizon. And keep that in mind. Naturally, when you look at how much things have changed, bear in mind that we just had an actual general election. So compare this with how things have changed from the last MOTN that we carried out, which was towards Republic Day in January this year. So let's start by showing you what the vote percentages for the alliances are. The NDA at 44%, having a 4% lead against the India Alliance, which comes in at 40%, and others at 16%. If you look at the broad trend going back in time, remember in the 2019 Lok Sabha elections, the NDA had a 45% vote share. So it's come down just a bit. If you look at the 2024 Lok Sabha elections, the NDA was at 43%. So it's gone up a bit. The India Alliance is where it was in the Lok Sabha election, which is 40%. So that's really where the broad vote shares stand. Let's now look at these votes converted into seats. C-Voter projects for the India Today group that if elections were held right now, the NDA would end up at 299 seats. In the Lok Sabha elections of 2024, they had 293. So that's a bump of 6 seats in favor of the NDA. The India Alliance, on the other hand, had 234 seats. That now potentially comes down just by 1 to 33. So not much changing as far as the macro big numbers are concerned, but that is also quite predictable and quite obvious, because how much can things change in a matter of a few weeks after a real Lok Sabha election. So broadly, the picture stays the same. The NDA gaining a little, the India Alliance roughly where it was. What we can do now is look at the party-wise breakup of this mood in the nation data. There we see some changes. So if I take you through the vote share percentages of the BJP and the Congress is now, the BJP is at 38% vote share. The Congress is now predicted to be about 25% vote share when we look at the party-wise breakup of this data. And after this, if we now look at the seat-wise breakup for each of the main parties, the BJP stands at 244. During the Lok Sabha elections, they were at 240, so that's 4 seats up for the BJP. The Congress, remember, was at 99. That's now gone up to 106, so up 7 for the Congress. So that's the broad breakup, Rajdeep, but this is largely along predictable lines because things don't change very much at the national level. They can change at an assembly level or Lok Sabha seat level, but broadly, Yashwant's picking up roughly the same direction that we saw in the Lok Sabha polls.
That's right. I think it effectively shows that this is, of course, a poll done within a couple of months of the general election. So, Yashwant, normally you would expect public opinion to remain more or less the same. They're still waiting, in a sense, for the next big game changer, whether it's in the assembly elections or some dramatic move by the Modi government that we really haven't seen. Exactly. I mean, all the talk of the 100 days of the Modi government hasn't happened at the moment.
Nothing has happened so far. And so far, we have seen this government roll back 3 major pointers. So that is very unusual thing to happen, what we know about this government and the people who run this government. And apart from that no major zig rigid about the alliance partners either. So basically, it is pretty much status quo. But yes, there are 3-4 major assembly elections that are going in, and a lot might start shifting after those election results.
Because your cover, Raj Chengappa, is Modi holds steady, Rahul emerges. We'll of course come to their individual numbers later, but the sense one gets therefore is that 3 months after the general elections, we are in what I call the interval phase of Indian politics. Is that how you see it? Is that how the magazine sees it?
No, I think it's significant for another reason. You might say it looks, predictable in some senses since you're holding it just 3 months after the general election is there. But what it does do is quieten all those voices that one thought that the BJP should get the full majority, and there was some aberration that happened in 2024 and they never got it. And the other side who believed that, they should have won, the India Alliance should have won, and, somehow the BJP was able to scramble and get a majority. What comes through is that the electorate is very, very clear. It voted for continuity and stability with Narendra Modi, but with caveats and conditions. And those conditions was that a strong opposition was needed to counter the thing. They were not happy overall. They didn't want to give the BJP a full majority. They said, look, there are serious issues that you need to deal with. It's best dealt when there is harmony and the fact that you're under checks and balances. And as Yashwant has shown already, that impact is having, that impact is being felt by the BJP and its coalition.
Kaushik, you worked on this data. There were those who felt that the reason that the India Alliance didn't do better is because allegedly mainstream media and the others didn't show the reality. And if people had known that India Alliance had a chance, they would have done even better and the BJP would have done it even worse. To my mind, what this poll shows is that this is actually the real picture. Even if you poll today, even if people actually know what happened in the Lok Sabha data, it is more or less the same. The Congress does gain, but that's only 7 seats. The BJP gains 4 seats. So it's broadly in line with what happened in the Lok Sabha elections. That conspiracy theory that Congress would have got 150 isn't correct. People are voting the same way, even when they have that knowledge.
Exactly. That's the point, Mitch. That's what this MOTN survey says, that this 2024 Lok Sabha election was not just because in some states there was some conspiracy against BJP or some chief minister sabotaged the elections, or it is because of Maharashtra. It is primarily, I think, because people were, as the MOTN numbers say, they were upset with the economic numbers and they were upset with certain excesses. And if you see certain other numbers in the MOTN, you will see that people are now showing more belief in Indian democracy. They are feeling that Indian democracy is now safe. They are not saying that we do not want BJP, but what they are saying is that we do not want an unilateral government. Here, there should be more dialogue between the ruling party and the opposition, and that's how the democracy should function. And it's actually a larger message for, I think, for the whole Southeast Asian region.
Because Preeti, since June, there have been two views. One is the BJP, a section of the BJP was surprised, disappointed that they didn't get 400 plus, and were keen that the government sort of assert itself more strongly. On the opposition side, there were those who thought, we've got 230, actually we should be in power, and have acted at times as if they justifiably believe that they should be in power. What's the sense when you look at the numbers? Who will be more satisfied with the numbers? The opposition or the government?
Well, I think it wasn't just the BJP that was a little shocked. Rajdeep, even in the beginning of the show, you made a mea culpa.
Yes.
There are a lot of people who were taken aback with the numbers, and I would think would be more satisfied with this. I think the opposition would be more satisfied with this, because I don't see the BJP being satisfied with, what these numbers were. Were they satisfied with these numbers? No. But at least if you look at even the micro data of the numbers which we will be giving out, and if we go state by state, and I would think the opposition will take heart, especially the Congress, in doing better in certain states.
No, but I can show you what has changed. If you just bear with me for a moment, the big picture nationally hasn't changed much, but there is something that has changed when you look at the party-wise vote share data. Remember, the BJP, which picked up 37% of the vote share, according to Yashwant's data, goes up to 38. That's a 1% change. The big change, though, is that the Congress's vote share, which at its worst had come down to about 19 in 2024 in the MOTN poll, and in the Lok Sabha elections of 2019 was 20, was 21% in the Lok Sabha elections of 2024, is now at 25%. This is a big change. The Congress gaining 4%. See, 4% doesn't look like a big number really, but it's a massive number because this is across a national sample across the country. A 4% increase in the vote share is a big change, Raj. That's not a small change. The seats may have only gone up 7, but a 4% boost in national vote share is one of the biggest headlines from this Mood of the Nation poll.
And I want to put a caveat. When we looked at the numbers of the Congress, even in the Lok Sabha 2004, in absolute terms, it appears only a small increase, 1.5 or 2%. But in the seats the Congress contested, they actually went up by as much as 7 and 8%. Remember, they contested 100 seats fewer this time compared to 2019. So actually, the Congress has been on the rise. And this also reflects in your state-wise data. Haryana, the Congress, as per your data, is ahead. In Maharashtra, as per your data, the Congress is in pole position compared to the BJP. So the Congress is clearly on the upswing.
But there are two ways of looking at it, Rajiv.
It still isn't.
No, once again. One is that you were so low down that you've now come up. The BJP is still here, so that is still the gap.
No, sure.
So you'd crashed from the crash, you've kind of bounced back. You haven't come back enough to be able to hit the BJP out of the park. You only come back into the fight.
Rahul, look, compare yourself to MOTN's 12 or 18 months ago. If you look at particularly early 23, you were virtually writing off the Congress. There was a sense that the Congress would end up with less than 50 seats. There was an MOTN which showed the Congress at around 50, 60 seats, virtually in the same position at 2019. Suddenly, they're almost double. They're over 100 seats. Once you reach that stage, so I think the big picture emerging is that the Congress is now finally back in contention. It's
circulation.
You call it circulation, call it contention, but I would slightly defer to the extent you've shown me 4 state assembly polls before your big picture. Out of the 4, and I'm ruling out Jammu and Kashmir, as we said, because your data is limited. In 2 of the 3, the Congress is ahead of the BJP, and both these states are which have BJP governments today. So if these numbers continue over the next 12, 24 months, you could have an India where Mr. Modi is still Neta number 1, BJP is still party number 1, but the Congress starts winning more and more state governments, and therefore you have a very different picture of India in a strange way.
This 4% increase is Congress is getting from BJP or regional parties?
No, so I can show that. Remember, that's a very good question that Sheila Bhatt asks, because the BJP's vote share isn't slipping. See, let me take you through the historical data. This is Lok Sabha 2019. The Congress was at 20, the BJP was at 37. Even now, in this Mood of the Nation of 24, the BJP is at 38. They were at 37 in the Lok Sabha elections that happened earlier this year. So the BJP's vote share is holding strong. So then where is the Congress gaining? The others, which as an aggregate were at 42%. Remember, as this narrative spread of a Congress Mukt Bharat, etc., the others at one time went up to 58%. So from there, they've now come down to 37%. The Congress, which at its worst in the February MOTN of 2024 had come down to 19. From there, they've gone up 6% to 25. But remember, there is
That's a huge leap, Rahul.
That's one way of looking at it. The other thing is there's still a 13% gap, sir.
No,
there
but,
is still a 13% gap between the
Rahul,
BJP and the Congress.
that's why I said
I
BJP.
just want to make
Yeah,
a
please
quick
go ahead.
point.
Sorry.
I think if you look at our cover, it says Rahul emerges. We're very cautious about that. The fact is, yes, it's a very significant percentage increase. And also, let's not forget what you mentioned. The gap is still very large. If you look at the ratio of the Congress seats versus the BJP seats, it is 1:2. The BJP is still at 244. The Congress is at 100.
So this would be problematic, Raj, if the BJP was slipping. If the BJP from 37 had come down to 32, and that's how the Congress had gained 5%, alarm bells should have been ringing in the BJP. That's not the case. The BJP is still holding on. It is the third parties, all these separate parties have come down from 42 to 37. That's where the Congress is gained from. There are two ways you can interpret the data depending on your political affiliation. One is that the Congress is up from 19 to 25, 6% up, yay. The other is there is still a 13% gap between the BJP and the Congress. Ultimately, the BJP and the Congress, when they're in contest, there is still a big gap. So now
there is a third way also.
Yes,
Rahul. That is the purple one.
Yeah.
Because you see, please try to understand that within the India alliance, the larger alliance, Congress and these partner parties have a very classical relationship, like in the Delhi Belly, I hate you, like I love you kind of thing. Because these regional parties grew up on Congress. All right. Now Congress asserting back is something which is coming from the kitty of regional. The answer to your question, Sheila, is
initially they won't mind. Soon, once the Congress starts coming back, they'll push back naturally to survive.
Exactly. So it's a and this number, by the way, when you will come on to the leadership question issue, you will see the same kind of thing. Because at one point of time, I remember after the Punjab election, Raj, you remember Arvind Kejriwal's national number were at striking distance of Rahul Gandhi. But look at the numbers now. Arvind Kejriwal is down. Mamta Banerjee is down.
जो हमने बताया नहीं वो मत बताओ. That's not allowed.
The question is, Rajat Sethi, Rahul Kawal is right. The BJP is holding its own nationally, 37, 38%, still 12%, double digit ahead of the Congress. The worry is that when you go into the state-wise data, where clearly a more competitive Congress is actually in some states, 2 of the 4 states about to go to the polls ahead of the BJP. How will the BJP see it? Because the next election, general elections are 5 years away. In the next 24 months, you're going to have about 8 to 9 state elections, very important. Does that change the map of India in some way? Does that show that the Modi era in some way may not work as effectively at the state level as it has at the national level? We saw it after 2019, first signs of slippages. Are we seeing a continuum of that? How should the BJP look at these numbers?
I think Prime Minister in 2014, 2016, around that time, he used to talk about this team spirit within the BJP. But he had to do a lot of heavy lifting for successive years for a fairly long time. I think now the task is cut out for several regional leaders like a Fadnavis to go that extra mile, take the burden off the Prime Minister and do much more than what is seen so far.
No, because between 2014 and 2019, the double engine seemed to work. Mr. Modi pushed up every state government. After 2019, you saw slowing down in the process. Are we seeing a further slowing down in the double engine concept where state leaders of the BJP, as you said, are going to have to start delivering?
Oh, yes, they have to. And see, BJP is also going through a massive churn. There is a leadership a change where there will be a new president coming in. Who would that be? What kind of extra sort of experiences that he could bring to the kitty over there? And how does he energize the entire cadre base of the BJP? How does he change the communication strategy? How does he again pit itself as the David, as the one ki jhola uthayenge aur chal denge? That spirit, that is what BJP and Prime Minister Modi has consistently backed
but that's a big point that you make, and let Ajay Alok come in on this, that there is a sense after 10 years of being in power, there's a sense of deja vu. For the BJP to be as sprightly as it was in its initial years in power and soon after 2019 as well, they somehow need to be able to reinvent the script, look fresh, to look new, to look hungry, not look jaded, not look tired, not look same. Something has to, how do you hope to do that? That the person is the same, the party is the same, the cast of characters are largely the same. given everything being the same, how can they create new energy and a new halo and a new buzz? Ajay Alok, is that the challenge, and how do you hope to address it?
Rahul, first of all, this debate is nothing but completely based on hypothesis, like a survey being conducted after the polls and what is the mood of the nation. Well, that's a good thought point. But you have to understand the whole paradigm of elections and the whole paradigm of Indian politics has changed since last 10 years. When you talk that how you're going to feel fresh, look fresh and not tired or retired, we are neither tired nor retired. We are a 24/7 political party. And we are not seeking any upbrush. We are working for a mission. And that mission is continuously continuing. It's in the continuance mode. What your poll is also showing, that people also want this continuity. The people of this India wants continuity, stability, and of course, the 2024 June results. That result was not that people of India have rejected us. They have selected us to be in the power and to take India forward, to take much further under the leadership of Narendra Modi. And Narendra Modi at the age of 72, neither he's tired, nor he's going to be retired for the next 15 years. That's also a surety. Because people have reposed faith again and again for the consecutive 3 times. See, you have to understand. Earlier in India, the cell was always Congress party, and the nucleus used to be from Gandhi family, and the whole opposition used to attack. Now this cell has changed. The cell is Bharatiya Janata Party, and the nucleus is Narendra Modi. And what led to the Congress
your point is well taken, Ajay. Let the Congress respond to that. Your point is well taken that the BJP with these numbers will still see itself, Shama Mohammed, as the principal pole of Indian politics. That the BJP still remains the party above 30%, which is what you really need if you want to be a serious contender for power. The Congress has gained, but not enough. Would you concede that at least, or are you still in the euphoria of what happened surprisingly on June 4th?
It is not a surprise, Rajdeep. We all knew that this is going to happen. It is your pollster who got it wrong. That is the fact of the matter. Now, let's understand the mood of the nation. The draft broadcast bill was withdrawn. The notification for lateral entry was withdrawn. The Waqf amendment bill goes to the standing committee, which never happened. And the removal of the indexation benefits is kept aside. So this is the mood of the nation. If there was no such issues, I know the Prime Minister of this country, he would have gone ahead with the Waqf amendment bill. There was no standing committee in the last 10 years. It was just passing any bill.
Why did politics, is that a mood of the nation or the function of numbers in parliament and outside?
It is, see, it's not just the numbers there. It is because the representatives, like the opposition, their own allies, saying that, we can't go ahead with these things because we are getting response from people. Our voters will not agree with these things. And that is the reason. So,
that's a larger macro point. Let's look at the data. There are 2 ways of looking and interpreting the data. One, from the last mood of the nation to now, your vote share is up 6%. Yay to that. The fact also is you're still 13% less than your principal opponent. So you're still losing. You're just putting up a better fight before you lose. The BJP is not losing ground in terms of vote share. They're still holding on to vote share. That's the most important from the BJP's perspective. You're gaining vote share at the expense of your allies. At some point in time, as the Congress gains more vote share, they'll start pushing back because they won't be happy with it. So you're gaining to some extent, but the BJP is still 13% above you.
But why should I believe this? This is what happened with your Lok Sabha pollster. What did he say? For 340 seats or 300 odd seats. But it didn't turn out that way. We have to understand that these can be wrong. Now, I heard somebody saying that Mahayukti Agadi is the Goliath and Mahavikas Agadi is David. That is wrong. Look at recent statements from Ajit Pawar. He says, it was wrong to put my wife against Supriya Sule. I might have to rethink things. What is happening there? See, please, let's understand that the media can confuse things. But I know people in Maharashtra. I've lived in Maharashtra. And they are telling me, Shama, it is Mahavikas Agadi winning this election. Mahayukti Agadi is nowhere. They are not going to win any. I mean, it's going to be a very
okay. To put it in terms, okay, let's look at it. There are 10 by-polls coming on in Uttar Pradesh. You have a Samajwadi Party, which is actually giving you a reality check when you ask for 4 seats of the 10 and say it's wishful thinking. So there is a literal pushback and you can see it. And it's only going to increase in days to come.
So that's what we want. and I think Rahul Gandhi is very clear that we will fight tooth and nail against this fascism and against Modi. So we are ready to do some sort of sacrifice this. We want the alliance, this opposition alliance to be one. And that is very important. Now,
I just want to sacrifice anymore.
I just want to bring in one point. Look at the way the media has been managed for West Bengal. The truth has come out today. The CBI says one person, that is Sanjoy, who the police of West Bengal caught, has raped her. There is no 150 grams of semen. That's all a lie. The CBI. CBI has come out and said.
We are the ones who broke that story. Yes. Shama Mohammed, watch what you say. That story, based on speaking to senior officials of the Central Bureau of Investigation, was broken by India Today television.
That's what I'm telling you. That's a good thing. India Today, I'm not blaming India Today. I come on India Today. You show both sides, Rahul. What I'm trying to say is the way the Bharatiya Janata Party went out there, manipulated things, said things. I'm not talking about the media, how they manipulated many things. You have a similar situation in Maharashtra. Why is the BJP not protesting there? I mean, there's two small little kids out there, and everybody wants to hang that man.
Can we come back to the
data? It's the principle. Okay, can I just get back to the data in terms of Sheila Dikshit? There is something in
Sheila Bhatt.
Why do I call you Sheila Dikshit? I'm very old. Sheila Bhatt. I want to understand, there is something in what Shama Mohammed says, that while the numbers clearly show the BJP ahead, purely in atmospherics in the last 3 months, things have changed. There is a clear sign that the government has been pushed into rolling back some of its legislative agenda. It has been forced to listen to allies. And time and again, therefore, all this talk of 100 days we are going to achieve. I don't hear any talk at all at the moment of what you performed in 100 days. No talk of single election, single nation. There is, in that sense, the mood changing. Would you agree that the politics has become more competitive and the opposition, like it or not, has found a voice inside parliament and outside?
Definitely mood has changed. Definitely there is a setback to BJP. Definitely.
Irrespective of these numbers.
Irrespective of these numbers, because it's obviously third term, obviously. But what I feel is that Congress, secular liberal people, good people, I would say all the people of India, I think they are making very big mistake of so much underestimating what BJP stands for. Right now, more damage in a public perception looks to Modi. But I don't think BJP, because
So the urban Hindu vote in particular is still very much with Modi. The Hindu vote is still very much with Modi.
Wait a minute, I'm just explaining that at a national level, are you crazy? Are you mad? I mean, are we not knowing that Delhi Sultanate, Delhi seat of power, who is sitting in the...
But can I make a point?
I'm just saying that it is not a joke to so much underestimate. I mean, why? If Congress wants to do a good planning, I think they should respect that 240 was not public perception. Games on social media, Twitter is fine, and mocking, ridiculing, and satire is a very good politics. But that is not all.
So they're still at 99, and the other side is still at 240.
But on the other side, I do feel BJP is in a problem.
What has changed in the BJP in the last 3 months?
It is turning point, because inside also a lot of things are happening.
Like what? What is happening within the BJP?
I think the second generation leadership wants to come up, and they feel our time
But Sheila
is out.
ji, do you think there'll be a rethink?
I think Modi himself is running against time, number one.
But can I place things in a historical arc, okay? Zoom out, look back in time. There are 3 prime ministers in India who've scaled Mount 3.0. And I want Raj Chingappa to come in on this, because first was Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru. What happened during the middle of his third term? 1962, the war happens. He loses his credibility despite having no very tall opposition leader or a big opposition party at that time. He is a diminished prime minister. His political credibility goes down. He has a heart attack and passes away. Indira Gandhi, she imposes emergency. Her political stock after a second term takes a big hit. She comes back after the Janata experiment fails. So if you zoom out, given the pessimism and the naysayers over here, in a historical context in India, a third-time prime minister is still doing remarkably better than even Pandit Nehru, Indira Gandhi. Raj Chingappa.
I'll just finish what I'm saying.
Yeah.
If you look at Indira Gandhi's third term, everyone who's hit the third term, there are only 3, as you said. Anyone who's got there so far, the previous 2 faltered in the third term. Mr. Modi, I'm sure, is very well aware of that history that is there. He has not been served a great hand I mean, he's partly responsible for that, that he doesn't get a full majority that he wanted to do so. And therefore, the risks are much, much greater for him as it was for them as well. And this is, history has its own lessons to teach us. And if Mr. Modi does not, this is, if you see as the MOTN results unfurl, this is his biggest challenge when it comes. This, if you look at the first term, the second term, there is a challenge that is out there for him, both in terms of numbers and what he has to deliver. People have said, okay, we want you back. We think you're still the best bet for us, but now perform.
No, but that's one way of looking at it.
More than that, Rahul,
Yes.
just look at what has happened in the last 4 months. We just mentioned about the Waqf bill going to a joint committee of parliament. Look at this whole lateral entry notification. Could you have imagined in 24 hours the government would have to pull it back? It would have not happened in Modi 1.0 and 2.0. That's how the mood has changed politically. It doesn't mean that the people still don't trust Modi. When it comes to a choice between Mr. Modi and Rahul Gandhi, and I'm sure your poll will probably show that, Mr. Modi is still Neta number one, but the political authority that came with being Neta number one
Rajdeep, the
is
point
not
I was
there.
making is look at what happened in other third terms of other prime ministers, whether in India. How does it not matter?
Of course
What
it doesn't,
in a
because
cricket match?
in a
cricket
I'm
match.
not interested in what
No,
happened to Jawaharlal
that's the
Nehru
wrong way of
in
looking at it.
59.
Rajdeep, one second. If there's a cricket match between you and me, all that matters is who wins in the end, right? It doesn't matter. Last time I beat you by 100 runs. This time I beat you by 10 runs. Hey, boss, who is winning is what matters.
There are 2 points, therefore. On numbers, as you have shown on the mood of the nation,
Yes.
there's a 12-point gap between the BJP and
13 points.
13 points, substantial. BJP still remains party number one. The NDA still gets 299, and the India Alliance is 233. We don't even know how cohesive that India Alliance is, as we've just seen in West Bengal. But the fact at the end of the day is that you are seeing the political authority outside numbers. Outside the numbers of your mood of the nation, the political authority of a prime minister who could, through executive firman, virtually dictate terms to the opposition, no longer being able to do that, and it's gone on for 3 months. So clearly it's a sign that Mr. Modi is having to adjust to
No, of
coalitional
course, but that's
politics.
like stating fact.
No, but that's the change in mood. When you say mood of the nation, the mood of the nation also has to reflect the
Rajdeep,
political reality.
I'll give you a corporate analogy. The way it works is when there is an established brand, and over a period of time, Prime Minister Modi has gathered so much of political capital that he has taken BJP's vote share, which is an orbit order higher than the others.
Absolutely.
Now, the brand, which was an ascendancy for the past 10 years, is largely stabilized. Right, but when that's what happens with big companies like Pepsi's and the Cokes of the world. They're not in a perpetual brand ascendancy. But on the contrary, you have here a startup which was sort of an old party, trying to rejig itself, trying to bring in youthful energy, has a leadership change and all of that. And suddenly you're seeing their brand ascendancy. That is giving you a perception that this ascendant power and this stable power, this ascendant is actually going and crossing out the BJP.
I've not said that. I've never said
this
it's
perception.
crossing.
I'm just saying this is the perception that is being, but what you fail to understand is that this 13 to 15% is such an orbit change of, vote shares actually on the ground that it is extremely hard for the Congress party till they don't do something major, so that a major chunk of vote
There
shares.
is a way of putting data to this question, right? And I'll compare who people want as their next prime minister. Let's take that straight up. And we'll do it in 2 ways. One, we look at where things are right now, because things are always need to be placed in a contextual perspective. Otherwise, people just put their own opinions ahead of the data. Now, at this moment, when this question was asked, who do you want as the next PM? 49% said they wanted Narendra Modi as the next prime minister. 49%. 22% said they wanted Rahul Gandhi. Now, there are 2 ways of looking at this. One, Prime Minister Modi's popularity and his approval rating is down 6% from the last mood of the nation in January this year. So that's a big fall, 6% down. Rahul Gandhi is now double of his popularity from the last time. So that's 22. Earlier it was only 11. That's an 11% increase. That's a big one. So now, you can say, okay, he's bounced back. He's 22 at one point in time. And I'll have that on the screen right now. Look at the same question in a historical arc. If you were to do that, Rahul Gandhi, the highest that he had was in January 19, after the state assembly elections of Madhya Pradesh, Chhattisgarh and Rajasthan, when Rahul Gandhi went up to 34. That's the maximum the mood of the nation has had Rahul Gandhi at 34. The maximum Prime Minister Modi has been at in that historical arc is 66%. 66% was in August 20, which is after the Lok Sabha elections. After the 19 Lok Sabha elections, he was at 66% when he done a really good job in the first wave of COVID. That's the maximum he's had. So from 66% in January 20, he's come down to 49%. Rahul Gandhi was at 34% before the last Lok Sabha elections. He then came down. He came down at one point in time, he was barely hitting double digits. Kejriwal was close on his heels. So there's been a big turnaround in Rahul Gandhi's fortunes, as our data shows. Double last time. There's a dip in Prime Minister Modi's fortunes, but he's still far ahead. Now, Rajdeep, everybody will look at this data in the way that suits them the most.
Absolutely. Look, I think if you looked at if India was a presidential system, if you were the US presidential elections, it would be a no contest. That's the difference. And that's the mistake, again, to go to our pollster friends, that they possibly made in 2024 June. They thought India was going to have a presidential election contest. India is 543 constituencies spread across different states with the diversity that you've just seen in states like Haryana and Maharashtra. But I think it also shows the challenge before the opposition. The opposition cannot believe that they've come of age. We are not in the age of Rahul Gandhi. We're still in the age of Modi, certainly still in the age of BJP, to some extent the age of Hindutva. And I wonder, Preeti, whether the opposition has understood that. Because, it's one thing to win your 230 odd seats that you've got as at the India Alliance, but you're still not 272. And the BJP on its own with 240 is still more than your 230 odd seats. Is that realization there, or does the opposition believe it's arrived and it's now only a matter of time before they'll sweep across from Narendra Modi? Is that a sense you get?
Well, if you look at the Congress per se, it seems to be understanding that, especially in the kind of alliances it's brokering for state elections as well. In certain states, willing to play the junior partner with regional partners. But I have a larger question, and I want to bring in Sheilaji, because in this number, if you look at it, if you see that drop in popularity for the Prime Minister, that would mean, Sheilaji, now I'll give you an example. When I went and covered the Haryana and Maharashtra elections the last time, it was Prime Minister Modi on the ticket. This time, we don't know if it's going to happen. Is there a sense in the BJP, it's time now to strengthen your regional leaders and not go by the experiments of a Madhya Pradesh, of a Rajasthan, or even the infighting we see in Uttar Pradesh? To strengthen your regional leaders.
First of all, these figures are very interesting, but I think this has happened because in the opposition space, there is more clarity and more space for Rahul Gandhi.
It is. Yeah, you're right. I mean, the point
which is good for country also, which is good for this entire secular liberal versus BJP ladai also, because Rahul Gandhi gets strengthened. Some leadership is there on the other side of Modi.
Yeah.
So I think this is a result of clarity.
Sheila, let's also give Rahul Gandhi credit. That this is not just a fluke that has happened.
No, I'm not at all saying it is good.
I'll just clear that. I'm not saying negative, but if you look, he works with the Bharat Jodo Yatra.
Yeah,
proves himself that he's a far more mature leader that's there. He's on the ground, walked all that distance. He provides leadership to the Congress, and if you see the leader of the opposition, this comes after that. There is some senses that he has emerged head and shoulders above everybody else that was competing with him earlier, and has emerged as the prime challenger with caveats, which is very clear. The gap between them, Mr. Modi and Rahul Gandhi, Mr. Gandhi, is 27%, right? So there's still a long haul for him.
No, but
just to complete what Rajat said, he brought in a very interesting corporate thing, and you talked of how corporates move from birth to growth, maturity, but then you didn't add about decline. Every product has its decline. And that is a question we need to find out now. What Preeti raised, the fact is that, has he hit the decline phase or not?
Just a minute. Let me get political reactions to this, because there are two,
Amitabh Tiwari is also with us.
Anshuman Tiwari is still with us. Let's get this clear. Should these numbers be seen as a resurgence of Rahul Gandhi, or simply Rahul Gandhi consolidating his position as the challenger number one to Modi? That the other opposition challengers, whether it's a Kejriwal, a Mamata Banerjee, are all going down. Their numbers are going down and his numbers are rising. So is it a resurgence in that sense of becoming challenger number one? Or is it Mr. Modi, as Rajat Sethi suggested, consolidating his position without now ever reaching possibly the summit that he once reached a couple of years ago in 2024? Therefore, a brand which is stabilized but could face decline versus a challenger brand. Is that how we should see this, Mr. Tiwari?
See, essentially, it is a mixture of both, actually. So we don't have Kejriwal's and Mamata's number. I think they would have also declined substantially. And Rahul Gandhi is consolidating, or rather taking up their share of the numbers when you ask this question, who should be the best PM candidate. And it is also his resurgence, because in the last 2 months or 2.5 months, he has shown, at least to his segment of voters, that he has done relatively well as a leader of our opposition position. That's number 2. Number 3, if you see, the gap has reduced from 44% in 2000 in your earlier MOTN to now 27%. That's a significant reduction. What we have to say is that one brand is either at the peak of maturity or likely to enter the decline stage, whereas the other brand has moved from introduction to a growth stage. This is what is happening. The Modi is at the peak of maturity or likely to decline if the state elections are not in favor of the BJP, whereas
which is the last point you made is critical, because I think that really will tell us what happens in January of 2025, your next MOTN. Those state elections, we've got 4 state elections, out of which 3 particularly are critical because BJP and Congress are virtually pitted against each other, albeit with some allies on their side. If those 3 elections, Rahul, 2-1 goes to Congress, naturally the Congress will believe that 2024 June was not an aberration. If it goes 2-1 to the BJP will believe that 2024 was an aberration and Mr. Modi and the BJP are consolidated. So I think we are, I maintain, Rahul, in the stage of interval. We don't know which way the wind will blow from here.
Very transitional period, Rajdeep, because, just a very important piece of data. The drop, 8% drop of Mr. Modi's numbers, 6% drop, has gone largely into don't know, can't says. The jump of 11% for Rahul Gandhi's numbers have largely come from approximately 5% each from Mamata Banerjee and Arvind Kejriwal.
Right. So the decline in them has
huge decline in Arvind Kejriwal's numbers, huge decline in Mamata Banerjee's national numbers, not in their state numbers. Please be very clear, very clear. Again, very clear. Their national numbers have shifted towards Rahul Gandhi. So yes, there is a kind of complete synergy as far as the opposition numbers against Mr. Modi is concerned. But we are still to see the swing of pro-Modi or the Modi admirer to convert to become a Rahul Gandhi admirer.
In fact, that is a very good question.
That's a very critical
the challenge for,
that's the challenge.
Shama Mohammed, what seems to be happening is a consolidation. You have a consolidation, Rahul, of these 2 big blocks. The BJP's bloc is about 10%, 12%, 13% more than the other side at the moment. The real challenge will come when BJP voters, or those who voted for the BJP in 2019 or 24, start shifting the other way. CSDS's post-poll survey showed 1 in every 3 voters in 2019 said they voted for the BJP because of the Prime Minister. In 2024, it had come down to 1 in every 4. So there is a shift, but it is not as dramatic as perhaps some of the media commentary has suggested. I think that's what the numbers would show.
Everybody has a take on why 2024 Lok Sabha results were the way they were. We put this question to the sample in the Mood of the Nation poll, and I want to take you through the answers. What do you make of the result? Why did the overall picture emerge the way that it did? When this question was posed by C-Voter to respondents in the Mood of the Nation poll, 37% said it's a vote for continuity and for Prime Minister Modi. 37%, the biggest number is that. Number 2, it's a vote against the arrogance of the BJP, according to 14% of the respondents. Vote for a strong opposition, say 13% of the respondents. the economy needs attention, say 11% of the respondents. So the biggest number there, Kaushik, is the number of people who say that this is actually a vote for continuity. I know everybody has their own hot take on it, but when you ask a massive sample that question, more than 1/3 the respondents say it's a vote for continuity, which is also ironically the exact percentage of BJP voters.
Exactly. What has happened is there has been a consolidation of anti-BJP votes. And that's why probably the numbers came down in the 2024 Lok Sabha elections. And also with that, the redistribution of votes happened. And it worked in favor of Congress. That Congress is gaining, if you see all the numbers in every questions that we ask, the Congress is gaining, but not probably at the cost of BJP, but probably at the cost of its own allies or non-BJP parties in every state and nationally also. Because if you see the numbers also, if I go back to the main projections, has Congress gained in states where it is directly opposite to BJP? If apart from Maharashtra, I don't think in any states it has gained significantly in terms of BJP versus Congress fight. So the opposition space is empty. Rahul Gandhi is gaining. And as this analysis of this 2024 polls, it says that it's a continuity for BJP and PM Modi. Yes, you continue with lesser numbers so that you do not do the excesses and you take care of our concerns. That's what public mandate is. Yeah. People are not probably showing absolute faith in non-BJP parties. Of course, they gain because they got together. There is BJP, or you can call it NDA, versus India. Because in earlier polls, the fight used to happen, the opposition was fragmented. This time, of course, they gained. Some votes they have gained from BJP and NDA, but more so because they consolidated. If three people got together and eat the same, but you have to now look at the redistribution has happened. Congress is gaining like it gained in Maharashtra in many places, wherever it was not a player event, like in Uttar Pradesh. It used to get 1 seat. Now it has 6 seats. It is making noises. So after this redistribution, probably there will be a question, okay, we fought, we control the BJP, but now are we giving space to Congress so that Rahul Gandhi gains? Now Mamata Banerjee and Arvind Kejriwal probably would think about, if they have national ambitions, they would think about, okay, we are actually giving too much space to the other person, which they didn't want.
Actually, it's a funny thing that you said, because, when we did the cross tabulation, because we wanted to understand about how the BJP supporters and opposition supporters are looking at this mandate. And we did a cross tab, Raj, to understand like that. So obviously the continuation part, Kaushik, just as you mentioned that of the BJP supporters says that. But it was very surprising for me that big number of opposition voters, their reason, the way they looked at it, they said that India needs a stronger opposition. That was the prime reason. And a significant chunk of BJP supporters, when they were looking at the mandate, they said this happened because of arrogance. Now, that's a very fine remark. Big number of BJP supporters looking at the reduced majority of the BJP saying or mentioning or blaming it on the arrogance, and big number of opposition chunk out of pure idea that no, we do need a strong opposition in this country. We cannot have a one party or one man thing like
Very
that.
interesting.
And just add that number that you talked about, when we are looking at this, people said they wanted a strong opposition, said 13. If you add the other numbers, which is that vote against the arrogance of the BJP, that's 14%, right? And if you go down, effectiveness of the India bloc, that's the opposition again 7%, and anti-incumbency 5%. So if you take the numbers that said 37% wanted Mr. Modi for continuity, there's almost 39% that says we want a strong opposition. Whatever way you might put it, you might disaggregate it, but there is a solid majority that is saying the arrogance and we want a strong opposition. That's the thing that's going on.
Will the government complete its term? We asked this question to the entire sample of the Mood of the Nation poll. Again, everyone has a hot take on it. See what the data says. When the question was asked, will this government complete its tenure? 55% of the respondents said yes, 35% say no. Rajdeep, which side are you on, 55 or 35?
I've always said once Narendra Modi sits on a chair, he doesn't get off it easily. So, I mean, I've always believed that those who think that this government is going to fall in 6 months, 12 months, that's not going to happen. I think Bihar 2025 is the other big test. If I were to look at a 2-year horizon, sometimes we tend to look at everything as ball by ball commentary, kal kya hoga. I think there are 2 state elections that for me are critical in the next 18 months. One is Maharashtra, which comes up in November, because it will tell us whether I think the Congress's resurgence, if we want to call it, is sustainable or whether it was an aberration. And Bihar, because I think the Hindi heartland is where Narendra Modi built his image as this dominant leader. If Bihar turns in any other way, then I think we have in 2026 the possibility of new equations emerging. But until then, once Mr. Modi is on the kursi nahi chhodni hai.
I believe that these assembly elections this year or next 2 years have no impact on the way Mr. Modi thinks or behaves. I genuinely believe that. I think somewhere I have genuine reasons to believe that he's looking at 3.5, Modi 3.5. Yesterday, the news was the census is going to be started within the next 12 months, because this time it is going to be a digital census. So it won't take 4 years of census doing pen and paper.
It'll be ready by 26.
26, latest by 26. Side by side, there would be, because in 2025, we have mandated for the new delimitation by constitution, and we have got 33% reservation in.
Yeah, but
so I believe by the time we are analyzing the assembly elections and everything, Mr. Modi is going to reboot the entire system with the new census, new delimitation, 33% reservation, and try to pull his way through with his, again,
we are out of time on day one of the India Today Mood of the Nation opinion poll. There are lots of questions to do with the economy, to do with the state of the opposition, to do with foreign affairs, to do with particular questions on the use and misuse of investigative agencies, the biggest problems India faces, big successes, big failures, etc. So we'll be back for a second round tomorrow with part 2 of the India Today Mood of the Nation opinion poll. I hope you enjoyed our broadcast. There's a lot to think about. And the good thing is that otherwise people just have opinion without data. At least now when they form an opinion, they can form it using some data to back it.
Absolutely. By the way, I've got a book coming out on the 2024 elections. So I'm looking at it should come out in October before the Maharashtra elections. But it's, all of this data is fascinating.
So viewers, get ready for that tweet thread. For anything you ask under the sun will be #read my book. So get ready for that.
I am more
but I would like one request to the viewers. One more thing. Kisko vote denge is only one out of those 100-odd questions which Raj Chengappa and Kaushik and their team painfully designed for that. The mood of the nation is not just about political mood of the nation. There are almost like 100-odd questions out there on society, the economic, the entertainment, the sports, and everything under the sun. So please,
should be back tomorrow.
Be back tomorrow.
Okay,
Be back tomorrow.
There's a lot of research we've done. We've been going through this over the past several weeks.
Yeah, read the India Today magazine.
That's an important point.
I'm not batting like Rajdeep is doing.
Okay.
So we're heading into a break. We look forward to seeing you for part 2. Goodbye. Good night.
Motorola Razr 50 Ultra comes with Google Gemini.
एक दोस्त है जिससे बात किए बिना हम रह नहीं सकते, बातें घंटों की हों या कुछ सेकंड्स की। ये दोस्त हमेशा हमारी बात सुनता है।
Felt that the reason that the India alliance didn't do better is because allegedly mainstream media and the others didn't show the reality. And if people had known that India alliance had a chance, they would have done even better and the BJP would have done it even worse. To my mind, what this poll shows is that this is actually the real picture. Even if you poll today, even if people actually know what happened in the Lok Sabha data, it is more or less the same. The Congress does gain, but that's only 7 seats. The BJP gains 4 seats. So it's broadly in line with what happened in the Lok Sabha elections. That conspiracy theory that Congress would have got 150 isn't correct. People are voting the same way, even if when they have that knowledge.
Exactly. That's the point, Mitch. That's what this MOTN survey says, that this 2024 Lok Sabha election was not just because in some states there was some conspiracy against BJP or some chief minister sabotaged the elections, or it is because of Maharashtra. It is primarily, I think, because people were, as the MOTN numbers say, they were upset with the economic numbers and they were upset with certain excesses. And if you see certain other numbers in the MOTN, you will see that people are now showing more belief in Indian democracy. They are feeling that Indian democracy is now safe. They are not saying that we do not want BJP, but what they are saying is that we do not want an unilateral government. Here, there should be more dialogue between the ruling party and the opposition, and that's how the democracy should function. And it's actually a larger message for, I think, for the whole Southeast Asian region.
Because Preeti, since June, there have been two views. One is the BJP, a section of the BJP was surprised, disappointed that they didn't get 400 plus, and were keen that the government sort of assert itself more strongly. On the opposition side, there were those who thought, we've got 230, actually we should be in power, and have acted at times as if they justifiably believe that they should be in power. What's the sense when you look at the numbers? Who will be more satisfied with the numbers? The opposition or the government?
Well, I think it wasn't just the BJP that was a little shocked. Rajdeep, even in the beginning of the show, you made a mea culpa.
Yes.
There are a lot of people who were taken aback with the numbers, and I would think would be more satisfied with this. I think the opposition would be more satisfied with this, because I don't see the BJP being satisfied with, what these numbers were. Were they satisfied with these numbers? No. But at least if you look at even the micro data of the numbers which we will be giving out, and if we go state by state, and I would think the opposition will take heart, especially the Congress, in doing better in certain states.
No, but I can show you what has changed. If you just bear with me for a moment, the big picture nationally hasn't changed much, but there is something that has changed when you look at the party-wise vote share data. Remember, the BJP, which picked up 37% of the vote share, according to Yashwant's data, goes up to 38. That's a 1% change. The big change, though, is that the Congress's vote share, which at its worst had come down to about 19 in 2024 in the MOTN poll, and in the Lok Sabha elections of 2019 was 20, was 21% in the Lok Sabha elections of 2024, is now at 25%. This is a big change. The Congress gaining 4%. See, 4% doesn't look like a big number really, but it's a massive number because this is across a national sample across the country. A 4% increase in the vote share is a big change, right? That's not a small change. The seats may have only gone up 7, but a 4% boost in national vote share is one of the biggest headlines from this Mood of the Nation poll.
And I want to put a caveat. When we looked at the numbers of the Congress, even in the Lok Sabha 2004, in absolute terms, it appears only a small increase, 1.5 or 2%. But in the seats the Congress contested, they actually went up by as much as 7 and 8%. Remember, they contested 100 seats fewer this time compared to 2019. So actually, the Congress has been on the rise. And this also reflects in your state-wise data. Haryana, the Congress, as per your data, is ahead. In Maharashtra, as per your data, the Congress is in pole position compared to the BJP. So the Congress is clearly on the upswing.
But there are two ways of looking at it, right?
It still isn't.
No, one second. One is that you were so low down that you've now come up. The BJP is still here, so that is still the gap.
No, sure.
So you'd crashed from the crash, you've kind of bounced back. You haven't come back enough to be able to hit the BJP out of the park. You only come back into the fight.
Rahul, look, compare yourself to MOTN's 12 or 18 months ago. If you look at particularly early 23, you were virtually writing off the Congress. There was a sense that the Congress would end up with less than 50 seats. There was an MOTN which showed the Congress at around 50, 60 seats, virtually in the same position at 2019. Suddenly, they're almost double. They're over 100 seats. Once you reach that stage, so I think the big picture emerging is that the Congress is now finally back in contention.
Circulation.
You call it circulation, call it contention. But I would slightly differ to the extent you've shown me 4 state assembly polls before your big picture. Out of the 4, and I'm ruling out Jammu and Kashmir, as we said, because your data is limited. In 2 of the 3, the Congress is ahead of the BJP. And both these states are which have BJP governments today. So if these numbers continue over the next 12, 24 months, you could have an India where Mr. Modi is still Neta number 1, BJP is still party number 1, but the Congress starts winning more and more state governments, and therefore you have a very different picture of India in a strange way.
This 4% increase is Congress is getting from BJP or regional parties?
No, so I can show that. Remember, that's a very good question that Sheila Bhatt asks, because the BJP's vote share isn't slipping. See, let me take you through the historical data, this is Lok Sabha 2019, the Congress was at 20, the BJP was at 37. Even now, in this mood of the nation of 24, the BJP is at 38. They were at 37 in the Lok Sabha elections that happened earlier this year. So the BJP's vote share is holding strong. So then where is the Congress gaining? The others, which as an aggregate were at 42%. Remember, as this narrative spread of a Congress Mukt Bharat, etc., the others at one time went up to 58%. So from there, they've now come down to 37%. The Congress, which at its worst in the February MOTN of 2024 had come down to 19. From there, they've gone up 6% to 25. But remember, there is
That's a huge leap, Rahul.
That's one way of looking at it. The other thing is there's still a 13% gap, sir.
No,
there is still a 13% gap between the BJP and the Congress.
That's why I said
I
BJP.
just want to make
Yeah,
a
please
quick
go ahead.
point.
Sorry.
I think if you look at our cover, it says Rahul emerges. We're very cautious about that. The fact is, yes, it's a very significant percentage increase. And also, let's not forget what you mentioned. The gap is still very large. If you look at the ratio of the Congress seats versus the BJP seats, it is 1:2. The BJP is still at 244. The Congress is at 100.
So this would be problematic, Raj, if the BJP was slipping. If the BJP from 37 had come down to 32, and that's how the Congress had gained 5%, alarm bells should have been ringing in the BJP. That's not the case. The BJP is still holding on. It is the third parties, all these separate parties have come down from 42 to 37. That's where the Congress is gained from. There are two ways you can interpret the data depending on your political affiliation. One is that the Congress is up from 19 to 25, 6% up, yay. The other is there is still a 13% gap between the BJP and the Congress. Ultimately, the BJP and the Congress, when they're in contest, there is still a big gap. So now
there is a third way also.
Yes.
Rahul. That is the purple one.
Yeah.
Because you see, please try to understand that within the India alliance, the larger alliance, Congress and these partner parties have a very classical relationship, like in the Delhi Belly, I hate you like I love you kind of thing. Because these regional parties grew up on Congress. All right. Now Congress asserting back is something which is coming from the kitty of regional. The answer to your question, Sheila, is
initially they won't mind. Soon, once the Congress starts coming back, they'll push back naturally to survive.
Exactly. So it's a and this number, by the way, when you will come on to the leadership question issue, you will see the same kind of thing. Because at one point of time, I remember after the Punjab election, Raj, you remember Arvind Kejriwal's national number were at striking distance of Rahul Gandhi. But look at the numbers now. Arvind Kejriwal is down. Mamata Banerjee is down.
जो हमने बताया नहीं वो मत बताओ. That's not allowed.
Okay, मैं बता नहीं रहा हूं. मैं नंबर नहीं बोल रहा हूं.